Chapter 600. Run through water. Chapter 600. Run through water. The nun pulled out a dagger and used it to stab at the bear. A deep gash immediately appeared on the dumb bear's hide, and it ran away whimpering. The nun wasn't interested in chasing the bear. She had seen Yi Mo get on the motorbike and chased after him immediately. Although she was fast, Yi Mo had already started the motorbike and left earlier than her. "Stop, or I will kill you right now," Jie's son called out. She had to expend a lot of the inner chi she had managed to gather after a long time, because it was definitely hard for her to try to chase up to Yi Mo. She didn't expect this kid to be so sneaky and run at the perfect moment. She regretted not dealing with the motorbike earlier. However, she believed that it would only be a matter of time before she caught up. Suddenly, Jiesun thought of some details. Had this kid already found out that she wanted to kill him? If not, why would he be running? Also, he chose such a perfect time. Did he know that the bear was coming? But how? Strangely, he had also taken her chi stone away. If he knew everything beforehand, and this was all part of his calculations, then he was too scary. She had to kill someone that scary, or she would suffer greatly one day. Was he a hidden sect cultivator? Considering everything, it did make sense. He had probably also gotten hurt due to that formation, just like her. Upon realizing it, she hated herself for not figuring things out earlier. The kid might perhaps have even come there for the Ni Luo Sutra. If it wasn't that she had to go back to look for Luo Xian, perhaps she wouldn't even go back to the inner hidden sections. Luo Xian had been the first to have the sutra, so she must have been involved in the other pages going missing. Luo Xian, that horny little bitch, always looked like she didn't understand anything. Yet as soon as she arrived in the outside world, she was tricked. If she didn't keep the 2 pages for herself, then she probably gave them away. She should have killed those 3 Marshall sisters from the very beginning. Luo Fei was no saint either. Luo Fei had also wanted the Ni Luo Sutra for the man who tricked her, but she couldn't find Luo Fei now. She really didn't understand why the younger generation was so shallow. Did all of them have to find a man, even daring to lie to their sect for them? Although she lied to her sect too, it was for herself, not for some man. A man was only useful for that business. Was it really worth so much trouble? Yi Mo heard the nuns howling and sneered. He wasn't an idiot. It would be suicide if he stopped now. Yi Mo had made up his mind to travel to Ninghai as soon as he reached the city, and have Beiwei help him. Once he recovered his power, the first thing he would do would be to teach that nun a lesson. But soon Yi Mo couldn't laugh anymore because the fuel meter of his bike was in the red zone. Yi Mo looked back and saw that the nun was still chasing him. Although he was worried, he couldn't do anything. Seeing the woman get closer and closer, Yi Mo knew he would be dead meat if he didn't think of another way. How would he stall for time with this nun? You have the 2 remaining golden pages, right? And it was also you who went to the underground room, right? If you stop now and give it all to me, I can promise I will let you live. However, if you keep running, I will catch up, and the first thing I'll do when I go back will be to kill Luo Xian. Her words almost made Yi Mo fall off his bike. He didn't think this woman would be so smart. She had guessed everything, but he had no intention of stalling time with her anymore. Since she had found out all that, if he fell in her hands, he would be dead for sure. The fuel was about to run out. So, at a turn, Yi Mo hit the throttle all the way and used the momentum to charge down a cliff. Yi Mo knew the nun would catch up soon, so he resisted the pain and crawled down the cliff. He wanted to hide somewhere she couldn't see him and make her think he fell off the cliff. But the pain from his leg combined with his lack of chi made him unable to stop himself, and he really started falling down. Yi Mo's heart sunk. In Shenongjia, Qingxue had been there to save him, but now he fell below the Duanheng ranges. No one would know about it. Perhaps he was even falling to his death. Splash! Yi Mo found himself in a pond after falling through branches upon branches. Yi Mo might not have fallen to his death thanks to things cushioning his fall, but he was covered in wounds. As the cold water cleared his head, Yi Mo realized that it was only more dangerous in the pond, because that none would get there very quickly. Looking at the flowing water, Yi Mo allowed himself to get dragged along by the current. If he was washed away by the water, he might at least still have a chance to live, but if he fell in the nun's hands, he wouldn't have any chance at all. Luckily, she was heavily injured, and it would take her some time to go after him. By that time, he would be washed away by the water. The water kept brushing against Yi Mo's body as Yi Mo twirled forward. He kept crashing into rocks in the river, and not a single spot of good skin remained on him. Yi Mo tried to avoid hurting his eyes and focused himself the best he could. He didn't dare relax at all or let himself fall unconscious, as that would mean certain death. Luckily, his will was very strong, and he managed to stay conscious. After a long while, just when Yi Mo thought he wouldn't be able to hold on anymore, the water slowed down around him, and he floated to the water surface. He saw that he was in a not-too-wide river as the water continued flowing downstream. He had finally made it. Yi Mo breathed a sigh of relief instinctively, but he then immediately tensed up again. He realized that he couldn't hear much, and that, without a doubt, he wasn't able to speak either. The pill was starting to take effect. That damn nun! However, Yi Mo couldn't do anything about it, and he was still in danger. The nun would find the place in a very short time, so Yi Mo planned to swim downstream and see if there were any boats. But as Yi Mo swam a few hundred meters, he knew that wasn't going to work. He had lost a lot of blood and was full of injuries. He couldn't even properly swim, but even if he could, he wouldn't be able to escape from the nun. It wasn't realistic to hide somewhere nearby either. Just when Yi Mo was unsure of what to do, a loud song was audible in the vicinity. Yi Mo subconsciously looked around and saw a bamboo raft come from upstream. A man in his 50s on board with 4 baskets full of herbs. The raft was fast and could be a great help to Yi Mo, but Yi Mo didn't call for help. Instead, he waited for the right time to dash under the raft and grab the bottom. "Big brother, wait a moment." Just as Yi Mo stabilized himself under the raft, he heard Jie Sun call out from the bank. Chapter 601. See each other, yet not know each other. Chapter 601. See each other, yet not know each other. That was really close, Yi Mo thought. The nun had caught up to him really quickly. He only managed to be a bit faster than her, even while flowing downstream. If it weren't for the raft, perhaps he would have even been caught. "Are you talking to me?" The herb picker slowed down. "Yes. Have you seen anyone nearby?" Jeshua asked. "No, I've been around the area collecting herbs, but I didn't see anyone. Do you need my help?" This herb picker was very kind-hearted. As Yi Mo began to worry about Jie Xian asking the man to row to the bank, Jie Xian asked, "Big brother, can you carry all of these cradles of herbs yourself? Just one cradle must be very heavy, right?" The herb picker smiled. He grabbed 2 cradles in each hand, lifted all 4, and said, "They are very light. Master, would you like me to take you dash?" But before he finished the sentence, he realized that the nun was gone. If she hadn't replied a moment ago, he would have thought it was a ghost. The herb picker shook his head and kept singing as he rafted down the stream. Luckily, the nun was inexperienced and only considered Yi Mo could be hiding in the herb baskets. An hour later, the raft stopped at a village. Yi Mo looked up subconsciously and saw that the place he was in was a very remote place. However, a faint smoke rose through the sky, giving off a serene feeling. There were around 20 to 30 families in the village, together with the occasional noises from chickens and dogs, and there was only one road. If your goal was to hide, no one would find you there. The village gave Yi Mo an indescribable feeling. He subconsciously felt like he shouldn't leave the place and stay there to cure his wounds. "Uncle Wong is back." A few kids waved to the herb picker. A middle-aged woman just finished washing a basket of clothes, and as she saw the man on the raft, she said, "Old Wang, it seems you found quite a lot today. Hee hee, I found a wild ginseng today. I don't need to go up for a few months." The man said happily, let me see." The woman quickly ran up to the man to see the ginseng. Yi Emo couldn't hear the rest of their conversation, and seeing the two leave, he carefully crawled out of the water and onto the banks. He was very weak and felt pain everywhere in his body. He knew that if he didn't find a place to recover, the consequences would be unpredictable. After using all of his power, he struggled to one corner of the village and noticed a house 200 meters away. This house was built on higher ground and seemed a little distant from the rest of the houses in the village. Yemo thought for a bit and decided to go to that solitary house. He didn't dare let anyone see him, who knew if the nun wouldn't stumble upon the village as well. Yemo saw from the door that there were no people inside and carefully creeped in. He wanted to find some food and get a change of clothes. His clothes were all in rags, but Yemo could only rejoice that he had managed to escape from Jie Xian. If it wasn't for that bear, who knew what the nun would be doing to him by then? There weren't a lot of things in the room, but it was clean. Yemo almost didn't believe it was just a small house in the middle of nowhere. It was so clean. The thought crossed his mind for only a brief moment as he needed to find food. There was a table and simple chair outside, but no food. Yemo walked inside the house and found a bedroom, a bed, and a mat. Yemo suddenly felt this layout to be very familiar. Luo Ying's room in Serenity had also been laid out like that. Thinking about Luo Ying, Yemo's heart seemed to be wrenched. He didn't want to keep staying there. It just made him think of Luo Ying. But when he turned around, he was shocked, as if by lightning. Near the window, there was a stone pool. He knew that pool all too well. It was the one he gave to Luo Ying in the desert. Was this where his master, Luo Ying, lived? Yemo wanted to scream Susu, but he couldn't. He felt his body shaking. Susu was here? This was where she lived? Yemo stared dumbly at that stone pool and wanted to touch it, but suddenly he couldn't move anymore. It was as though he froze. He had no more thoughts, no more movements, no more pain. The only thing left in his world of view was the stone pool. He wanted to grab it and tell Susu he was back. After a long while, Yemo recovered his motion capability and shifted over carefully. Once he grabbed the stone pool, his thoughts froze again. He felt that he wasn't able to control his tears. He had never in a moment in his life been so unable to control his emotions. At that moment, a young woman wearing linen clothes was carrying a small basket and walking towards her house, and when she saw that her door was open, she quickly ran in. When she saw Yemo touching the stone pool, she was quite dazed. Extreme anger could be seen erupting from her eyes, as though the most cherished thing in her life had been taken. Yemo looked up at the woman. Her hair was coiled up, there was a veil covering her face, and her eyes were clear but angry. Seeing those familiar eyes, Yemo froze. Susu. It really was Susu. He wanted to talk, but he couldn't say anything, and could only keep tearing. The angry woman saw Yemo cry and stopped her anger. Who was this man? Why did he rush into her home and into her room? He was covered in wounds, there were gashes all over his face, and his clothes were ragged. What was this person doing? Why was he crying when she was about to get angry? Why did his eyes seem familiar? What was that emotion she saw in them? Longing? Excitement? Worry? She could feel the man's heartfelt emotions, but she couldn't forgive him for barging into her room. No one in the village would do that because this was her place. Who are you? Why did you come to my house? Please leave. No. Hey, leave. Seeing Yemo touch the stone pool again, she finally couldn't resist her anger. Yemo couldn't talk and couldn't hear anything, but he could see the anger on her face and suddenly felt dizzy. Chapter 602. Second Sneaky Attack. Chapter 602. Second sneaky attack. Emo was too excited and heavily injured, so he finally collapsed the moment he saw Luo Ying. The woman, who had been getting quite angry, saw him faint and quickly ran to check his injuries. She immediately realized it was because of her. Although she didn't know who the man was, she did feel like they'd met before. The man had been touching that stone pool. Only she and Yi Mo knew the meaning of it. Was this man Yi Mo? The woman was dazed, as she remembered the look in his eyes. It really was somehow similar to Yi Mo. Was he actually Yi Mo? She unveiled her mask to reveal an out-of-this-world face. It was the very Luo Ying Yi Mo had been looking for such a long time. She carefully studied the man on the ground. At least in his current unconscious state, he didn't really look familiar. She felt his face and didn't notice any marks of appearance-changing tricks, so perhaps she was thinking of Yi Mo too much and was mistaken? Although she was disappointed, she still carried Yi Mo out and took out some herbs to put on Yi Mo's wounds. Then she made a soup and fed Yi Mo. His body was strong, so he should be fine. Although his dantian was damaged and he was heavily wounded, his strong physique due to years of cultivation still showed its properties. It might have been just some normal herbs, but Yi Mo's body did still digest most of it. He opened his eyes and found himself still in that room, but his wounds were much better. Luo Ying had saved him. Right, Luo Ying. Had she recognized him in the end? Yi Mo was shocked and immediately got up to see whether Luo Ying was there. He had finally found Luo Ying. He didn't want to lose her again. As Yi Mo looked up, he saw Luo Ying being busy outside as she was making a small hut. There was a cauldron nearby with herbs inside. Yi Mo smiled bitterly. It would seem that Luo Ying wanted to move him to the other room once he woke up. He was Yi Mo. He had to tell her somehow. Although he couldn't speak or hear, he could write. Yi Mo crawled up. Other than feeling a little hungry, he was much better than yesterday. Even if he couldn't recover his dantian and spirit sense without special means, he could still recover to a normal person's level. Yi Mo stood at the door and looked dazedly at Luo Ying's back. Yi Mo didn't dare believe it was real. Watching her slim figure hustling around was a pleasant scene. He didn't dare to interrupt its serenity. He was afraid if he did, it would all vanish into thin air, and he would have nothing again. Suddenly, Yi Mo shivered. He saw an extremely cruel pair of eyes staring at him. It was Jie Xian. She was stared at him like a ghost. He immediately felt cold sweat going down his neck. He regretted coming here. He had brought a disaster to Luo Ying. The nun had actually gotten there. It seemed that she had realized he had nowhere to go except there. Jie Xian smiled coldly to Yi Mo and looked at Luo Ying. Her smile was cruel and frosty. Oh, no. She hated Luo Ying too. She probably hated Luo Ying for saving him and ruining her plans. He wanted to warn Luo Ying at once, but he couldn't make a sound. Jie Xian's whisk was already in the air, so Yi Mo ran in front of Luo Ying without thinking. When she saw Yi Mo approaching her, she reacted. She was at yellow level after all, and subconsciously took a step back. He didn't manage to cover her, yet at this moment, the whisk landed on Yi Mo's back. However, Yi Mo wasn't a bear. He couldn't block it. Splurge, Yi Mo spat more blood. The strike had almost shifted his organs, which made his injuries even worse. When she saw him lying on the ground and the nun behind him, Luo Ying understood that the nun had been trying to attack her, and the man she saved used his body to block it. Who are you? Why are you attacking us? Luo Ying's voice was loud. She was really angry. She came from serenity. Not even the worst person in the sect would attack a stranger for no reason. Furthermore, she didn't even know that nun. You shouldn't have tried to save him. You will have to die too. Jie Xian's tone was bland, as though it was very reasonable. But instead, Jie Xian didn't attack Luo Ying. She walked to Yi Mo, wanting to search his body. Seeing this, Luo Yu took out a yellow rope and attacked the nun. You've also learnt ancient martial arts." The nun dodged. "Please leave now. I won't let you touch him." Luo Ying detested the nun. "Then I'll have to deal with you first. To find a woman as pretty as you in a place like is unusual." Then she attacked again. She didn't even have 1% of her full power, but she thought that although Luo Ying was cultivating ancient martial arts, she was barely at yellow level. But after fighting with her, she found out that this absurdly beautiful woman was almost the same as her, or even a little stronger. If she hadn't been very experienced and hadn't had a lot of moves, perhaps she would have been defeated already. Luo Ying rarely fought with people, so she was constantly retreating, but as time went by, she became more fluent in her moves and went from a position of disadvantage to an equal one, and finally to having the upper hand. Jie Xian knew that her inner qi wasn't enough for her to beat her. She really didn't understand why there would that kind of woman be in this distant place. "You don't even know him. Why are you helping him? If you let me take him away, I can give you an earth-level cultivation method and a black rising pill." Jie Xian knew she couldn't beat Luo Ying and decided to use an alternative method. She would take away Yi Mo first, and after the nun completely recovered, come back and kill the woman. Luo Ying didn't say anything and just kept attacking. She didn't know it was Yi Mo lying on the ground. If she had, she would have tried to kill Jie Xian with all her might, even if she offered her the immortal rising pill. Seeing Luo Ying ignore her, Jie Xian got also angry and said, "What do you want? Is it worth it for someone you don't know? Let me tell you, that person took my poison. He only has 49 days to live. If you let me take him, he could still survive. However, if he stays here, he will die for sure." Hearing this, Luo Ying slowed down her attack, and Yi Mo happened to open up his eyes at this moment. His body was burning with pain, but he couldn't ease it either. Yi Mo knew that it wasn't going to end well when he saw Luo Ying slowing down her attack. Jie Xian lowered her whisk, and Luo Ying also put away her rope, but Yi Mo was worried. He knew how evil this nun was. She had a dagger. She had withdrawn the whisk, not to make peace, but to sneakily attack Luo Ying. Luo Ying had no fighting experience, so she knew nothing about this. No matter whether Jie Xian was going to attack Luo Ying, in his desperation and worry, he actually stood up again and ran to Luo Ying. No one was allowed to harm her. The same thing happened again, but this time, Jie Xian was sneakily attacking Luo Ying. However, Yi Mo was again 1 second faster than Jie Xian. Chapter 603. I don't want to care. I just want. Chapter 603. I don't want to care. I just want. The dagger pierced into Yi Mo's left shoulder, and Yi Mo, who had barely been able to stand, was catapulted away by the force and fell in front of Luo Ying, unconscious again. Seeing this, Luo Ying's heart shook for no reason. She didn't have time to think properly, but she got completely angry at that moment. Yi Mo got hurt twice to save her. She didn't expect this innocent-looking nun to be so sneaky. Without thinking, she used full force as her yellow rope struck Jie Xian's dantian. Jie Xian didn't expect her killing blow to be blocked by Yi Mo again. Was he her nemesis or something? Before she could make another move, Luo Ying's rope struck her dantian. She couldn't even react, and Luo Ying dealt a truly hard blow. Even if she had been able to react, she wouldn't have been able to dodge that strike with her current strength. Jie Xian was dazed and spat out blood as well. Her dantian had been damaged even more with that strike, and she knew that if she didn't leave right then, she would never be able to. Her current state was worse than a normal person's. Jie Xian didn't even bother retrieving her dagger and just left. She started considering if Yi Mo had predicted everything beforehand. She suddenly felt cold and shivered. If that young man really had known something beforehand, then he was too scary. If it weren't for the 2 golden pages, she would rather never confront someone as scary as him again. Luo Ing quickly helped Yi Mo up and didn't chase that nun. Seeing this, Jie Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Her wounds wouldn't recover for at least a few months. Luo Ing quickly stopped Yi Mo's bleeding and was very worried. Yi Mo felt like his eyelids were extremely heavy as he struggled to open his eyes. He saw a worried look close to his face and thought, Luo Ing, it really is Luo Ing. That beautiful face had appeared in his head countless times, and now it finally appeared before his eyes. Yi Mo was shaking with excitement. Don't move, I will try to save you. And thank you for saving me. Luo Ing didn't know how to save Yi Mo, but she felt his shaking. Yi Mo sensed the nearby Luo Ing and wanted to reach out his hand to feel her face. Seeing Yi Mo's actions, Luo Ying's face changed. She sneered and put down Yi Mo heavily. She was really unhappy. She took out a veil, wanting to cover her face. She just wanted this man to be able to move, so that he could leave. Yi Mo suddenly remembered that he had a mask on, and that Luo Ing didn't know him. He resisted the strong urge to faint, and thought of using the blood on his shoulders to write something. Seeing this, Luo Ing took out a white cloth and threw it in front of Yi Mo, but didn't talk. Yi Mo wanted to look at Luo Ing again, but he knew his power was limited. He could faint at any moment. After writing the words, he finally couldn't hold on anymore and fell unconscious. Luo Ing subconsciously took the cloth, and when she saw the words, her mind blacked out. It was as though all her meridians were frozen and she couldn't move. The cloth had 4 words. I am Yi Mo. Yi Mo? Really Yi Mo? Why doesn't his face look like Yi Mo's? He must have some masquerading technique applied to him, she thought. Other than Yi Mo, who would have helped her block the attacks from that nun. Other than Yi Mo, who would cry while touching the stone pool. Other than Yi Mo, who would cherish her life more than his own. Why was he here? He must have come to find her. If she knew Yi Mo would get so hurt trying to find her, she wouldn't have left his side. Yi Mo. Luo Ing finally reacted, and was sure that the person on the ground was Yi Mo. She cried out his name, and fell on Yi Mo's body before carrying him away. Her tears flew out like an open dam. She suddenly hated herself. Why did she let the nun who tried to kill him go? If she had fought with her life on the line, right from the start, would Yi Mo even have gotten hurt? Luo Ing kept tearing, and she couldn't forgive herself. Suddenly Luo Ing woke up from her tragic feelings. Why was she still crying? She needed to save him. Yi Mo felt that his soul was about to drift away, and felt that his spirit was on the verge of collapse. He knew that he was about to die. He tried to force his soul not to drift away, because he couldn't die. Suddenly, a cool feeling entered his mind, after which he felt lazy and fell asleep. He was dreaming about how he found Luo Ing, brought her back to Luo Yu, and had the biggest wedding he could with her, and Ning Qingxue. Everyone in Luo Yu came to wish them well, but when he pulled Luo Ing and Ning Qingxue into their room, Luo Ing told him that she had to go back to Luo Yu continent and couldn't stay with him. He tried to grab her hand, but she went further and further away. Susu, don't go. Yi Mo cried out, and opened his eyes to see Luo Ing watch him with a worried face. She could tell that Yi Mo wanted to talk, yet was unable to say anything. You're awake. You're finally awake. Luo Ing finally saw Yi Mo open his eyes and hugged him tightly. Master. Yi Mo called out to her from the bottom of his heart and fell unconscious again. But now the time it took him to wake up again was really short, and when he did, he tried to raise his hand and feel Luo Ying's face. Luo Ing had gotten a lot skinnier from the worry and tears on her face. Yi Mo knew that she had been enduring more than him. When he was injured, as he finally touched her face, he said, Master, don't worry about me. I'm fine now. Don't cry, but don't leave me again. Although she didn't know what Yi Mo was saying, Luo Ing still nodded, as though knowing what Yi Mo was saying. She helped him up and wiped her eyes, after which she brought over a bowl of congee. She blew on it carefully and fed it to Yi-Mo. Then she got some water and helped Yi-Mo clean himself, including even brushing his teeth. Susu, the chicken soup is done. You can feed it to the man now. Susu heard a call at the door. She quickly put down her towel after wiping Yi-Mo's face and went out. Anishi, thank you for these last couple of days. And please thank Uncle Wang for that ginseng too. Without your help, Luo Ying took the pot from the lady and spoke gratefully. Don't say that, Susu. You have cured a lot of sick people in our village. This little amount of help is nothing. Don't worry, I'll do what you told me to, the Ani said. Meanwhile, Yi-Mo looked at the bed and inside a room, and to his surprise, the room seemed different. It would seem that there were more celebratory colors, just as he was wondering why. Luo Ying came in with a blush on her face. Yi-Mo wanted to tell her that they weren't brother and sister at all, when suddenly Luo Ying came over and embraced Yi-Mo's head. Yi-Mo was lost in her faint aroma. Yi-Mo, I don't want to be your master, and I don't want to be your sister. I just want to be your wife, Luo Ying said. Then she suddenly remembered something and let go of Yi-Mo before writing, I don't want to be your master. Let's get married. I already told Anishi, so when you start being able to get off the bed, we can have a wedding. Then her eyes turned red. She knew that Yi-Mo had been poisoned by that nun, but she didn't know what it was. She wanted to take Yi-Mo out as soon as he was better, and if he really couldn't be cured, she would be his wife for 1 month and accompany him in death. Yi-Mo was dazed. He looked at Luo Ying. Did she know they weren't siblings? But then why hadn't she gone back to find him? Luo Ying looked at Yi-Mo and blushed, but she continued writing, Yi-Mo, right now I don't want to care about anything. I just want to marry you and be your wife. We can just live here. Chapter 604. Let me take care of you in this life. Chapter 604. Let me take care of you in this life. Yi-Mo stared at Luo Ying surprised. He could only think that she perhaps had realized that Jingxi had lied to her. However, that wasn't the case, yet she still wanted to marry him. The celeb rational colors in the room were what she had set up for the wedding, right? Why was she in such a rush? Couldn't she wait until he got better? He still wanted to bring her back to Luo Ying and have the wedding there. Do you want to marry me? Luo Ying wrote down with a hopeful look in her eyes. Yi-Mo stood up a bit and wrote, Master, of course I want to marry you. I'm actually not related to you, Jingxi lied. Luo Ying smiled and leaned on Yi-Mo. She assumed Yi-Mo was comforting her, but it didn't matter to her. Since she had thought it through already, she didn't care. Moreover, she often dreamed that she had met Yi-Mo in their past life. Yi-Mo only had 2 months left to live. She loved him, and he loved her. When he died, she would die next to him. It was her greatest fortune to be able to die with Yi-Mo. Don't call me master. I am going to marry you. I want to be your wife. Luo Ying wrote. Okay, Susu, you're really not related to me. My sister is called Beiwei. She's in Ninghai right now. She's also from Luo Hong Temple. I will marry you. I want you to be my wife. Yi-Mo could tell that Luo Ying still had a moral barrier. Really? Luo Ying looked at Yi-Mo with joy. She stared deeply into his eyes. He wasn't lying to her. Before Yi-Mo could reply, she placed her head on his chest and thanked the heavens. Not only did she get to see Yi-Mo again, but she could also properly marry him. Yi-Mo wiped the tears from her face. He could tell that she had gone through a lot after they got separated. Luo Ying looked up and greeted Yi-Mo's lips. They kissed. The flower scent made Yi-Mo give in passionately. Their warmth made them forget about time, until Luo Ying realized that she was losing herself in his arms. She quickly got away from his embrace and looked outside. It was already dark, so she wrote, You've been unconscious for a few days. Ani, she brought some soup. I'll heat it and feed you. After you've recovered, we can be together. Yi Mo suddenly remembered Jie Xian and wrote, Susu, we need to get out of here quickly. That old nun won't let us go. She will come back. Luo Ying smiled and wrote, she's heavily injured and will need at least a few months to recover. By that time, we'll be gone. After reading this, he calmed down and wrote, Susu, in a few months I'll take you somewhere else to get married. However, Susu immediately shook her head and wrote, no, it can't wait. I must marry you immediately. Yi Mo looked at her. He didn't know why she had to marry him immediately, but he had promised Ning Qingxue that they'd get married together. How could he tell her this? Before Yi Mo could respond, Luo Ying kissed him and went to make food. He looked at her and felt warm inside. Since she wanted to get married, then so be it. He already had a marriage certificate with Ning Qingxue anyway. He would just celebrate it when they got back to Luoyu. The fact that Jie Xian was injured was quite convenient. In a few months' time, he could help Luo Ying reach stage 1, and then help him take out the things in his ring. Or he could make Beiwei come. Yi Mo had just woken up, but he was still too weak. He only took a few sips of the soup and fell asleep again. When he woke up again, it was already noon of the second day in her house. Luo Ying wasn't at home. In just one day, she had managed to cover the room in red, and a huge board with the word JOY had been placed on the door. Yi Mo looked at all of this dazedly. It was as though he had gone back to Luoyu, the time when his master used to teach him how to concoct pills side by side. Now, he was finally going to marry her after all the hardships they had gone through. In your previous life, you were my master and took care of me. In this life, let me be your master, and let me take care of you, Yi Mo thought. He took out a piece of paper and wrote on it the first level of cultivation method on it. In the depths of the Duanheng Ranges, a very shabby-looking nun sat on a rock. Her face was very scary. The things she had planned kept encountering problems. The only good point was that she knew he probably had the golden page. Yet he was too calculative and too lucky. If it hadn't been for that girl, she would be interrogating him right now. However, not only did she not capture him, but she had also lost her chi stone. That stone was very precious and important for achieving Great Heaven Stage, even though she believed she could still reach Great Heaven Stage without it. This time, she was injured heavily. She wouldn't be able to recover completely for a few months, but she only needed a month to recover a third of her power. She had some pills too. Once she recovered to a 30% of her power, that beautiful woman would be no match for her at all. Once she captured her, she would let her know the consequences of offending her. At the same time, the political scene at Hedong was going through a big storm. More and more people had gotten involved, and it was all due to a small case. After realizing the will was fake, and the judge had been helping them cover up, Li Chunxing got involved to deal personally with the case. But although the results hadn't come out yet, everyone in the political scene knew that Li Chunxing's future wasn't going to be bright. Li Chunxing sat in his office smoking with a frown. He wouldn't have thought that such a simple case could bring so many problems. However now, not only could he not contact Yi Mo, but the Beijing Li family couldn't help him either because they couldn't even help themselves at the moment. Li Chunxing's phone calls and actions were all being monitored. Chapter 605. Wedding. Chapter 605. Wedding Lin Village was located at the foot of a mountain in the Duanheng Ranges and was completely segregated from the world. There were only about 30 families there. The government had been planning on developing tourism there, but due to some issues, it was never put into action. The area was very beautiful. There were mountains and rivers all around. The Lin River continued on into the New River, and further upstream from the village, there were valleys that had a lot of natural herbs. They were the main source of income for the people in this village. Today, the village was in a celebrational vibe. because the very person who had taught the people how to recognize herbs and taught them all sorts of medical knowledge, Susu, was going to get married. Susu is really pretty, like a goddess. Yeah, I've seen a lot of celebrities on TV, but none as pretty as Susu. But doesn't her husband look pretty average? He doesn't fit with Susu. Why do you care? It's fine as long as Susu likes him. That young fella is very nice. After Susu was reunited with Yi Mo, she took off her veil, and everyone in the village was shocked by her otherworldly beauty. Yi Mo was also extremely excited. He could finally walk together with Luo Ying hand in hand. The people in the village were genuine and didn't have all sorts of rules and customs like in the city. They just gathered to celebrate and wished the newlyweds good luck. Yi Mo and Luo Ying liked that. After a day of celebration, the village finally calmed down. Yi Mo walked into a small room with Luo Ying, who had her head covered with a red veil. This was the place Luo Ying had lived in for 2 years, and now it would be the place she would be living with Yi Mo. The big red candles brightly shone in the room, and Yi Mo excitedly unveiled Luo Ying. Under the bright red candles, Luo Ying's face seemed even prettier, as she had that sense of embarrassment that made Yi Mo lose his mind. Susu, you're truly beautiful, Yi Mo couldn't help but want to say. Although his mask had been washed away by Luo Ying with herbs, the poison was still in his body. Although Yi Mo didn't make any sound, Luo Ying knew what he wanted to say. She felt Yi Mo's hand swish around and felt a little shaky. The inexpressible feeling of love was seizing her. Hold on, Dash, although Yi Mo couldn't hear her demand. He saw Luo Ying wave out the candles. She knew she would be sleeping with Yi Mo that night, but she felt too embarrassed with the red candles burning. Although the candles were out, the light from outside still shone in from the window, giving a glow to their eyes, which were expressing the pair's deep love for each other. Luo Ying's soft body and faint aroma made Yi Mo unable to hold himself back. Soon, he saw Luo Ying with most of the clothes she had worn before gone. Luo Ying was like a young lamb squirming in his arms. She only knew how to hug him tightly and let him do whatever he wanted. Although he really wanted to do it, Yi Mo thought about her cultivation. He had written the first level of a cultivation method for her 3 days before, and it had become clear that Luo Ying did indeed have a spiritual root. He believed that with the help of the Spirit Stone, she would be able to reach stage 1 within a month. But if he took her virginity now, would it affect her cultivation? If it was due to him that she couldn't reach foundation establishment, then what would he do? Feeling Yi Mo slow down and stop, Luo Ying embarrassingly looked up at Yi Mo in confusion. Yi Mo couldn't use a mind-cleansing chant on himself at that moment, but he loved Luo Ying, and for his love, he could resist any hardship and enticement. I'm afraid that if I were to take your virginity today, it will be hard for you to reach foundation establishment. How about we wait until you reach foundation establishment state, and then we dash. Yi Mo just managed to write half of his message before Luo Ying took the paper away. Luo Ying shook her head and didn't say anything, but her body was telling Yi Mo that she just wanted to be with him, that nothing else was important. She knew that if the poison remained in Yi Mo's body, nothing else would matter anyway. Without the mind-cleansing chant, Yi Mo could no longer control his feelings for Luo Ying. With some light creaks from the bed, a harmonious scene appeared under the silver moonlight. Luo Ying's body was like a hot stream, getting more and more sensitive with Yi Mo's charge. She couldn't help but moan as her hand grabbed Yi Mo's back tightly. It was a little painful at first, but as Yi Mo slowly kept moving, she didn't want to leave his arms. She wanted to grab Yi Mo's back tightly, but she was afraid of hurting him. The only thing she could do was embrace Yi Mo as much as he could handle and give her everything to him. It might have been only Luo Ying's first time, but Yi Mo wasn't exactly experienced either. He embraced Luo Ying tightly, and he could feel her heart and body shake in pleasure just like him. It was as though at that moment he and Luo Ying had become one. Luo Ying made a final long moan in Yi Mo's arms and grabbed his back even tighter. In Luo Ying's heart, Yi Mo was her everything. Yi Mo made her not only feel love but also longing. Now her body was his, and his warmth was still inside her. In the end, as the night progressed, the creaking of the bed stopped. Yi Mo lovingly kissed Luo Ying in his arms before they descended into the realm of dreams together. The call of the rooster broke the silence of the village. Luo Ying opened her eyes and looked at Yi Mo with gentle eyes. She should have married him earlier, although it was a little late, but at least she still did it. She carefully touched Yi Mo's face and suddenly thought, how could 30 days of being together ever be enough? She wanted 300 years, 3,000 years, 30,000 years, or even an eternity with him. For the first time ever, Luo Ying started hating a person to the bones. She didn't even hate Jing Shi as much as that Jie Xian. If it weren't for her, she would get to live with Yi Mo forever and give birth to his children. No, she had to find a cure, help her husband cure the poison, and live with him forever. The first thing Yi Mo saw when he woke up was Luo Ying busying about. Even though she was a yellow-level middle-stage ancient martial artist, she still walked a little uneasily after her first night. Yi Mo got up and felt warm at heart. He just watched Luo Ying silently. No matter what had happened before, she was his wife now. He needed to love and protect her. Chapter 606, 2 Lifetimes. Chapter 606, 2 lifetimes. Time flies when you're happy. They'd been married for almost 10 days. Yi Mo could feel that Luo Ying constantly had a faint sense of worry, but he didn't want to break the peaceful life they had, so he didn't ask what was going on. But today, he felt something wasn't right with Luo Ying. I want to go and find out if there are herbs in the mountain that could heal you. She had noticed that Yi Mo already knew something was going on, so she just told him before he could ask. Do you want to find Jie Xian the nun? You think she has the cure? Yi Mo asked. At this point, they didn't even need to write. They only needed to look at each other's lips to know what they were saying. Sometimes, even a glance or action could let them understand each other. Luo Ying was dazed. She had understood Yi Mo's glance. It was as though he knew what she was thinking but didn't agree. But you're poisoned. Okay, I won't go. I'll stay with you, Luo Ying said and then walked to him, so she could brush his hair. She knew that Yi Mo didn't want her to go. She wanted to say that they only had little more than 10 days left, yet she felt this was far from enough. She wanted to be with Yi Mo forever. Yi Mo embraced her and said, Dummy, my poison isn't fatal. I just can't speak or hear. Once you reach stage 1, you can cure me. What? It's not lethal? Luo Ying was dazed. Suddenly fortune was on her side. She even suspected she had read Yi Mo's lips incorrectly, so she asked again. I said that if you reach stage 1, you can cure me. Yi Mo felt her excitement and caringly wiped her tears as he repeated his words. Luo Ying hugged him tightly with joy. After a while, she looked up and said excitedly, I'm already at stage 1. She wanted Yi Mo to tell her how she could cure him, but she didn't know how to express it. Yi Mo was shook. He hadn't expected Luo Ying to be able to reach stage 1 in less than half a month. Although it was also due to the spirit stone, one could see that she was indeed quite skilled. Yi Mo quickly took out a pen and a piece of paper. He wrote down how to release spirit sense and take things out from the storage ring. When Yi Mo held the bottle of Lotus Life Pill, he was actually very calm. For the first time, he felt that everything else was unimportant next to Luo Ying. The paradise he had lived in for the past 10 days made him almost forget there was poison left in his body. With her help, Yi Mo put a pill in his mouth. This pill melted immediately and turned into a spring nourishing his organs and Dan Tian. The damaged Dan Tian repaired rapidly. Luo Ing watched Yemo sit down with his legs crossed and recover, but the weight made her anxious. She didn't dare leave him alone, and didn't even mind the water boiling outside. She felt her heart beating rapidly. If he recovered, she could stay with him forever. The Bin Sure grass poison wasn't directly affected by the Lotus Life pill. It was just pushed out of his body by his own cheat. His external injuries had already been healed under Luo Ying's care, and now his internal injuries were gone too. Qi gradually started to gather, and Yi Mo could clearly feel his power rising until it recovered to its original state. Luo Ying saw some kind of white mist rise from the top of Yi Mo's head with black qi in it. She realized that Yi Mo must have pushed outside the poison. Then, her heart felt like it was going to burst out of joy. She thanked the heavens for letting Yi Mo be all right. A day passed quickly, and when Yi Mo opened his eyes again, it was already dark. Luo Ying sat in front of him, staring without blinking. He could tell that she had been staring at him the entire day, worried about him. Susu, sorry to make you worry. Yi Mo got up and gently cuddled her. She couldn't hold it anymore and cried out in his arms. The torture was finally over. She could hear Yi Mo's voice now. That meant he was well. I thank the heavens that you're all right, Luo Ying said piously. Yi Mo kissed her. I should be thanking you. It's you. Luo Ying placed her finger on his lips and stopped him. She pointed at the crescent moon. We got married on a full moon. I really liked it, but today I like it even more. Then I'll take you up to see the moon. Okay? And, wow, we're really in the sky. Luo Ying reacted. It felt really familiar, but it was also unimaginable at the same time. And we're in the sky right now. Susu, in my dreams from a past life, you were my master, and you took me flying in the sky like this. In this life, I will take you to fly. In a previous life, you taught me everything to take care of myself. In this life, let me take care of you and give you everything, Yi Mo said. His words got deeply etched into Luo Ying's heart. She murmured, past life, this life. Was there really a past life? I keep dreaming about flying in the sky too. Is that real? She caressed Yi-Mo's face, fearing that it was all a dream, but he was concrete and real. The village below was peaceful while she and Yi-Mo welded into the dark sky. Whispering in her ear, Yi-Mo told her everything about cultivation and what happened after she left. When they returned to the room again, Yi-Mo had a sense of familiarity. It was as though she really had taught Yi-Mo cultivation in his past life. She had taught him how to concoct pills, medicine, and language. Susu, where did you go after leaving Serenity? When I went to the desert, I found that you had already taken the stone pool away. Yi-Mo kept asking all sorts of questions. Luo Ying touched his hair and said, when did you start liking me? Was it due to the memories of your past life from your dreams? Do you like the me from my previous life or this life? Yi-Mo looked at her bright eyes and said slowly, perhaps it wasn't a dream, perhaps it was real. The time you were my master, I respected and loved you, but I didn't dare desecrate you. When I realized that was love, it was already too late. It wasn't until that day in the desert that I got to see you again, when you saved me. When I was about to die, you woke me up with your blood, and same. When you carried me to escape from the bugs in the desert and took me to hide in the caves, I knew I couldn't forget about you, because I also had my blood in your body. When you gave me that well of water, I knew I had fallen in love with you. When you chased me to Serenity and walked the Sword Mountain for me, I knew I couldn't be without you. I went everywhere afterwards, yet not knowing where I should go. I wanted to secretly visit you, but I was afraid I wouldn't be able to leave after seeing you. One day, Ani, she brought me here, and I settled. I stayed at the highest place in the village with the hope of seeing you one day. I would stand here every day for an hour, looking for you. Some time after that, I couldn't resist my longing for you, so I went to the desert and took back the stone pool you gave me. Chapter 607. Return to Jiutong. Chapter 607. Return to Jiutong. Their voices gradually died down as the two just sat there next to each other until the rooster called again. It's dawn. Huh, Yimo muttered subconsciously. They had sat there for a whole night. Luo Ying laid in Yimo's arms and didn't want to move. Yimo suddenly thought of something and took out a small bag for Luo Ying and said, Susu, the sect leader of Serenity told me to give this to you. I didn't open it, so have a look what it is. Luo Ying took the bag and opened it. There were 2 books and a yellow cloth with a date written on it within. What are these letters? I've never seen them before, Luo Ying said strangely. Yimo took it and was dazed. It was actually the language of Luo Yu continent. How could that have found its way to Serenity? This is your cultivation method, the same as the one I wrote for you, Yimo said. Huh? Then that means what happened in the dream is all real. Luo Ying took the book shakily. Yimo nodded. It is. He just didn't understand how this could appear on Earth and be acquired by the sect leader of Serenity. The date written on the cloth was April 26, such a familiar date. Indeed, it was the date Yimo transmigrated. Look at this book. Luo Ying gave the other book to Yimo. Yimo flipped through a few pages and felt a heavy feeling of love. As Luo Ying noticed that, she asked, What does it say? Yimo answered softly, Susu, it's your diary from your past life. A lot of things are exactly as I dreamed they would dash. Huh? Luo Ying quickly took the book and said, I'll give it to you when I'm done. Yimo nodded. Perhaps you can remember some things through it. It doesn't matter if you show me or not. Luo Ying blushed. I'll let you see for sure. I just don't know if I said anything bad about you in it. You need to teach me this language, though. Yimo said softly again, Of course, like I said. In our last life you taught me. In this life I will teach you. A lot of the words I know were taught by you. But isn't that probably just in your dreams? No, I believe it really happened. Seeing Luo Ying put the book away, Yimo suddenly said, I'll make a storage ring for you later on. He had all the materials already, and Yimo attached a diamond to it too, a blue diamond. He felt a little troubled about how to tell Luo Ying about Ning Qingxue, but luckily he still had a lot of time. The ring was made quickly, and Yimo put some necessary recovery and cultivation pills in it before handing it to Luo Ying. Luo Ying looked at the ring, and her expression was the same as Ning Qingxue's. The joy in her eyes was unquenchable. The blue diamond and storage capability weren't the main attraction. The main thing was that Yimo had made it for her. Help me put it on. Luo Ying's voice was shaky. Although she hadn't lived in the city for too long, she still knew what a ring meant. Yimo gently put the ring on for Luo Ying. Looking at a Luo Ying unable to stop fiddling with her ring, Yimo's heart was filled with warmth. He didn't disturb Luo Ying and took out his phone. He was going to call his sister and Qingxue to tell them he was all right. But as soon as he opened his phone, there was a large amount of texts. Some were from Ning Qingxue and his sister, but most of them were from Li Chunxing and Shixiao. It was all about the case in Jiutong City. Cheng Chonghui had been taken away, but at the same time, Li Chunxing said that he needed him urgently. Shixiao's text said the same too. Yimo quickly called them, but both of their phones were shut down. Yimo texted Beiwei, Qingxue, and Yiling first. He decided to go back to Jiutang and see what was going on. How could Li Chunxing not deal with such a simple case and get dragged into some mess instead? What happened, Marshal Brother? Luo Ying found that it sounded much better to call Yimo Marshal Brother. Yimo was okay with it and said, 2 of my friends in Jiutong are in trouble. I need to go see. I'm sorry, Susu. I wanted to stay with you for a few more days. Luo Ying felt the ring and smiled. There's no need to say sorry between us. I'll go wherever you go. I have nothing keeping me here. I'll just take that stone pool away. Also, There's no point in leaving so much money in my ring. I'll give it to Uncle Wang and Ani Shi for them to split amongst the villagers. The ginseng you ate was from them, and the money for the wedding was also all paid by them. Yi Mo smiled and grabbed her hand. No need. I still have more. It was mostly USD in his ring, though, and only about 5 million renminbi. He gave more than 1 million to Luo Ying and took out the rest. The people in the village were very innocent, and the village leader divided the money equally. When Luo Ying and Yi Mo left, everyone in the village went to send them off. They are all good people. Luo Ying and Yi Mo had walked for very long already, yet they could still see people waving their hands at them. Because you're an immortal goddess, Yi Mo smiled and said. Yi Mo called Lu Lin as soon as he came to Jiutang City, but he couldn't reach her either. Yi Mo decided to buy some clothes for Luo Ying with her, and then go to Jua Corporation. He didn't believe that a province-level senator would lose a fair battle. One pale yellow dress with the necklace and ring Yi Mo had given her made Luo Ying feel like an ethereal goddess. Everyone in the clothing store was dominated by Luo Ying's out-of-this-world beauty. Perhaps they had never even seen anyone as pretty as Luo Ying before. Wait for me for a bit. I need to go buy some things in the supermarket. Luo Ying saw that Yi Mo was on a call and said to him. Yi Mo understood that she probably wanted to buy some women products, so he didn't follow and just waited for her at the door, thinking about what might have happened. Might you be Yi Mo? An abrupt voice stopped Yi Mo's train of thought. A man in his 30s halted before him, and a girl dressed very revealingly stood next to him. She looked to be somewhere in her 20s, and she wasn't ugly, but Yi Mo didn't like her makeup. The man seemed familiar. Yi Mo soon remembered who he was. He had been his classmate in Ninghai, Wang Chu. Wang Chu was very close to Shi Xiu. In fact, he was one of Shi Xiu's few close friends. Well, although Shi Xiu didn't have many friends in university, he still knew more people than Yi Mo. Wang Chu, why are you here? Yi Mo asked strangely. Huh? You're really Yi Mo? No wonder you looked so familiar. You changed so much that I almost didn't recognize you. Shi Xiu asked me to come over. He ran into some trouble, and I happened to be working in Jiutang, so here I am, Wang Chu said. Just as Yi Mo wanted to ask about Shi Xiu's situation, Luo Ying's angry voice sounded. Yi Mo immediately went to her. Chapter 608. We're friends. Chapter 608. We're friends, miss. Hong Kong Danyu Entertainment is top-notch in the industry. With your looks and our expertise, I'm sure you can become famous all over the world. Even Hollywood would easily be within your grasp. A bald, fat man was talking on and on. Yi Mo wanted to laugh. No need. We're not interested in what you're talking about. So move aside. Let's go, Susu. People like this can be found everywhere. No need to mind them. Yi Mo helped Luo Ying carry her things and pulled her away. Don't leave. I'm a shareholder of Hong Kong Danyu Entertainment. Friend, your girlfriend is this pretty. It'll be such a waste if dash. The fat man was very agile and ran in front of Yi Mo. Luo Ying frowned. She had already rejected, yet the man still persisted. Yi Mo grabbed the fat man and threw him away onto a dumpster. The trash came out a bit and splashed across the man's face. What Yi Mo wouldn't have expected was that as soon as he left, the shareholder guy immediately took out his phone and called someone, Uncle Tong. I found a goddess-like beauty in Jiutang. Definitely goddess level. I'm sure she's the prettiest girl in China. Yes, as long as she joins our company will dominate the world. Wang Chu, take me to where you guys are meeting. I haven't seen Shi Xiu in a long time. Yi Mo pulled Luo Ying over to Wang Chu and said. Wang Chu was dumbfounded looking at Luo Ying and reacted only after a long time. Oh, okay, let's go. He was truly shocked. The woman with Yi Mo was way too beautiful. Yi Mo, this is... Wang Chu asked. Yi Mo smiled. My wife, Luo Ying. Susu, this is my former classmate, Wang Chu. Luo Ying didn't like to talk to strangers and just nodded. The girl beside Wang Chu was also shocked. To be honest, she had never seen a girl as pretty as Luo Ying. Yi Mo looked very ordinary. How did he get such a good girl? Her confidence was shattered to pieces in front of Luo Ying. Let's go, then. By the way, when did Shi Xiu come to Jiutang? Yi Mo asked. It's right over there, Wine City 613. Shi Xiu just told us to wait for him there. He'll be there soon, and I don't know when he came over either. Wang Chu pointed at a luxurious restaurant not far away. Then let's go, Yi Mo answered. Wang Chu walked over to Yi Mo and said in a quiet tone, Shi Xiu seems to have gotten into quite some trouble this time. We want to help him, but the enemy is pretty powerful. If wise Sai. Yi Mo shook his head. He knew what Wang Chu was thinking. He meant that if Yi Mo was still part of the Yi family, then things would be good. Yi Mo didn't know Wang Chu much, but from what Shi Xiu had said, he should be quite decent. However, apparently he wouldn't sacrifice himself to help Shi Xiu. Yi Mo also suspected that Wang Chu had stopped staying in touch with Shi Xiu after graduation, and only started contact again after Shi Xiu became a mayor. The most luxurious room in the restaurant was 613, but Shi Xiu would never be able to get that room. So, he was in room 616 together with some acquaintances. When Yi Mo and company arrived, one clean-looking man just scanned Luo Ying once, but almost everyone else kept their eyes on Luo Ying. There was even a passionate fire in the eyes of two of them. Yi Mo immediately didn't like this. What sort of friends had Shi Xiu brought? Luo Ying was clearly behind Yi Mo, yet they still looked at her like that. With the 6 people already there, and the 4 who just arrived, the gathering consisted out of 10 people. There were 2 more whom Yi Mo knew, but they hadn't been in the same class, though. Hello, I'm Shui Guiyang, Shi Xiu's blood brother. You are? The clean-looking man walked up to Yi Mo and shook his hand. Yi Mo had heard of this name before. Shui Guiyang was very loyal. Shi Xiu had talked about him quite often. I'm Yi Mo, Shi Xiu's friend. Yi Mo shook hands with the man and smiled. Oh, so your brother Mo. I've heard about you more than once. Shui Guiyang looked overjoyed from the bottom of his heart. Shi Xiu had told him that if Yi Mo came, he would be able to help a lot. Yi Mo said, Shi Xiu is my friend. So since you're his friend, just call me Yi Mo. Okay then, Yi Mo it is, I won't be too polite, Su Guiyang said. Due to Shui Guiyang's obvious respect, the other people in the room got up and also greeted Yi Mo. Shui Guiyang was a middle-level manager in Yifeng City. There were 2 others who also worked in Jiutang, and 1 person who had opened a trade company in Jiutang. His name was Mi Fang. One rather tall man was called Lu Yahua, and he worked at Jiutang Hospital. The oldest man present was in his 30s and was called by Yoshi. He was Shi Xiu's hometown friend. Why is Shi Xiu still not here, even though he invited us here? Lu Yahua commented uncomfortably. Who knows? Oi, Shui Guiyang, what happened to Shi Xiu anyway? Bai Yoshi joined. Yi Mo sneered. He knew these people would be too unreliable to expect any help from them. Okay, I'll tell everyone the truth, Shui Guiyang said. Shi Xiu ran into some trouble. I believe everyone knows about the Jiutang case dash. Before Shui Guiyang finished, Bai Yoshi interrupted. Guiyang, we're all just small fry. How can we help with that? Isn't Shi Xiu slapping our face, asking us to help? Bai Yoshi, how can you talk like that? How much did Shi Xiu help you when he was mayor? And you guys come from the same town. If you don't want to help, then leave. We don't need you. Shui Guiyang was mad. Okay. Stop arguing. Although some words aren't nice to say, reality is what it is. We can't even so much as touch fights at that level, but we can still do some small things. How about Guiyang, you tell us your plan, and we see what we can do. My business isn't big and I might not be able to help much, but I can at least help with some money. Mi Fong saw everyone start arguing and tried to calm them down. Yi Mo sighed. Other than Shui Guiyang, who was truly trying to help Shi Xiu, everyone else had just come for show. Suddenly the door opened, and Shi Xiu came in, having a few slap marks on his face. Everyone leave. I'm being hunted by the mafia. Quick! Shi Xiu only said one sentence before stopping. He had seen Yi Mo. Yi Mo. How come you're here? Shi Xiu finally felt assured. He had only called these people to help because he had no other choice. He wanted to ask them to investigate some things and never expected them to actually help him save Li Chunxing. Yi Mo walked over and patted Shi Xiu's shoulder and said, "Don't worry about anything. Just slowly tell me what happened." "I'm sorry, Yi Mo." "All I do is make you worry every single time," Shi Xiu said dejectedly. Yi Mo smiled. "Don't say that, we're friends. When I'll be in trouble, you'll help me too." Shi Xiu was about to tear up. He had called nearly 20 friends, but only a few had come, yet Yi Mo came every single time he needed help the most. Chapter 609. As if you dare to shoot. Chapter 609. As if you dare to shoot, what's going on? As Bai Yoshi heard that the mafia was after Shi Xiu, he immediately got up worriedly. After it really got through to him, he pulled up a girl that was next to him and said, "We still have something to do, so we'll be going." As soon as he walked to the door, Bai Yoshi was kicked back in. At the same time, a voice sardonically spoke from the door. "Since you already came, don't think about leaving. My big brother said for you to wait here. He will be here very soon." "This has nothing to do with me." Bai Yoshi wanted to argue, but no one listened to him. "Yi Mo, who is this?" Shi Xiu was asking about Luo Ying. Yi Mo smiled and held Luo Ying's hand. "This is my wife, Luo Ying. Su, this is Shi Xiu, my former classmate and my friend." "Oh, nice to meet you. Sorry for dragging Yi Mo into my trouble all the time." Shi Xiu realized only then. Anyway, who else other than Yi Mo deserved a woman that pretty? "Hello." Luo Ying smiled plainly. Her whole attention was on Yi Mo, and she only replied because Yi Mo introduced Shi Xiu as his friend. Otherwise, she wouldn't want to talk to any of these people. She didn't like talking to strangers. Yi Mo ignored the two at the door and told Wang Chu to close the door. Then he said, "Everyone better sit down for now. Shi Xiu, tell us what happened to you." Shi Xiu sighed. "Brother Li told me about the case in Jiutang City, so I wanted to help. Originally, there weren't any problems after the second hearing, but because young Master Hung came, it became a big problem." "Young Master Hung? Who is that?" Yi Mo asked in surprise. Shi Xiu shook his head. "We aren't sure about what his full name is, but Brother Chunxing said that he might be from the Dai family. His power is very big. For someone at his level, Brother Chunxing's local power means nothing to him." Yi Mo had heard of this Dai family. Shi Xiu had told him about them last time. Ever since the Song family and Qiao family left Beijing, the Dai family and Qiu family rose up. But even if this young master was from the Dai family, the Li family should have no reason to fear him. How come they were attacking Li Chunxing, yet the Li family still didn't do anything? Li Chunxing should be considered a part of the Li family by now. As Shui Guiyang heard this, he asked, since even brother Li doesn't have the status to afford being enemies with this young master, why is the guy intervening with something like the Jiutang case? The last time Brother Chunxing talked to me, he said that young Master Hung had a new lover, Yi Zhu's daughter. Yi Zhu is Yi Zhuha's second brother. As soon as young Master Hung intervened in the case, news of Brother Chunxing being corrupt started to appear. This isn't the most important issue. The most important thing is that some rumors that Yi Zhuha's death was related to Brother Chunxing also started to appear, saying that the reason why he was intervening in such a case was because he had an affair with Yi Zhuha's wife. Even though all these rumors about Brother Chunxing are fake, he can't do anything about them. Xiao explained dejectedly. Yi Mo frowned. Even if the guy was trying to suck up to his father-in-law, he should at most be trying to help them win the case. Why would they go so far as to challenge the bottom line of politics? No matter how big Dai Heng's origin was, he wouldn't just wrongly accuse a provincial official for no reason. Yi Mo felt that there was more to this matter than meets the eye. Xiao continued. Afterwards, it was also said that back in Yifeng, he attacked the Yuan family because the Yuan family didn't divide their dirty money properly with him. How would he know so much about the Yuan family otherwise? Or so the rumors say. After Yi Mo heard all this, he understood that things were far from simple. Xiao then said, "The day Brother Chunxing was taken away, he sent me a letter telling me to leave immediately. I knew things had gotten bad, so I left Shitong with Xiao Tan that night. I knew Brother Chunxing wanted me to find you." "What about the Li family? Did Li Chuyang not say anything?" Yi Mo asked. The Li family was pretty much the most powerful family in China, although Li Chuyang wasn't the most powerful of the young generation. He was definitely in the top 3. With Li Chuyang to help Li Chunxing, how could Li Chunxing be brought down by some Dai family? Not to mention that Li Chunxing was on the just side. Xiao's side. I heard that something happened to Li Chuyang. I don't know what exactly, though. Although I don't know what's going on with the Li family, but they are no longer the number 1 family in China. The Dai family and Qiu family joined together to take down the Li family, and they have the support of most people in Beijing. Yi Mo wasn't interested in stuff like that, but Li Chunxing was a good guy, and he had been helping Yi Mo, so he had to intervene. How is he now? How is the case? And why are you being hunted by gangsters? Yi Mo asked. I couldn't contact Brother Chunxing, so I came to Jiu Tang to collect evidence for his sake. But I couldn't do it myself, so I called some friends for help because I needed the help from a lot of people. I was short on money, so I went out to borrow some. Those people lent it to me only yesterday, yet now they want me to pay back with a 10-fold interest. There was no way I could outtake that much, so I ended up being hunted. Lulin is probably locked up. Brother Chunxing told me to look after Yen and Yi Shaodai, but I didn't find them. Xiao, did you borrow from Blackhead? Lu Yahua suddenly asked. Xiao nodded. That's right. Lu Yahua's face suddenly changed. Xiao, you brought trouble to all of us. Blackhead reigns supreme in Jiutang. Those who borrow from that guy all lose a few layers of skin. How could you borrow from him? Shut up, Lu Yahua. You and Bai Yoshi are both the same. Xiao asked you for help. So if you can't help, then shut up, Shui Guiyang said angrily. Bang! Suddenly the door was kicked open as an African-looking guy with a cigarette in his mouth and a tattooed head walked in, followed by his cronies. Xiao, you're very bold, making me come personally to collect your debt. The black man suddenly stopped talking when he saw Luo Ying sitting next to Yi Mo F *CK. There's actually such a pretty lady here. Then the man walked to Luo Ying. Everyone looked at Luo Ying with worry, but Xiao was very calm. Yi Mo sneered and kicked the man onto his chest. The man was kicked back and spat out blood before crashing into the wall. You kill H-. He spat more blood. He felt his body burning, and his organs were shattered. He was so angry that he wanted to kill Yi Mo, but he didn't dare say anything else, as there was a gun pointed at his head. Everyone stopped at the sight of the gun. The black man reacted quickly and snarled, as if you dare to shoot dash. Before he finished, Yi Mo had already fired. Blood splashed out from the guy's forehead, as he had an expression of disbelief. Chapter 610. Coming here with initiative. Chapter 610. Coming here with initiative, you really dared to shoot. I will kill your entire family. A ferocious-looking man behind Blackhead moved forward. He was Blackhead's right hand. He pulled out a sword. But before he could finish, Yi Mo fired again. Yi Mo sneered. He could tell that many lives had been lost in their hands. Then, Yi Mo looked at the remaining people and asked, "Anyone else wants to talk? Hurry up, I still have a few bullets left." He didn't need a gun to kill these people, but he had used it because he didn't want trouble. He couldn't use fireballs to kill them all, and using a gun was much easier. Moreover, he had license to kill. He just didn't want to cause a slaughter there, so he only killed a few of them to warn them. Of course, the main point was to get the situation even more tense. If they didn't respect him, he wouldn't feel guilty for killing them. Li Chunshin was helping him, and he had appeared in Jiutang a few days ago. He couldn't believe that they didn't know he was involved. If they had known this and still attacked, their actions were very questionable. Yi Mo was sure that the higher-ups in China knew that he was closely related to Luo Yu, if not responsible. Even with this information, they still hadn't considered him and just intervened in his case. It was no longer a fight for power. It was more serious than that. It could result in an international discord. No matter how powerful the Chiu and Dai family were, they couldn't unsee this. Xiu's friends also looked at Yi Mo in disbelief. That bunch of phonies tried to get out of there quickly. Yi Mo sneered. "Did I say you could leave?" They shook and stopped. The scene fell into an eerie silence. Clap, clap. Almost everyone turned to look at where the clapping came from. A man in his 30s was standing at the door. Exciting. Too exciting. It was like a circus, just 2 shots, and no one dares to say anything. "It's been a long time since I've seen someone as bold as you." The man's lips were very thin. 2 bulky men, more than one. 9 tall, stood before him. They were protecting the man. They each had a pistol, and they also were countless times more skilled at shooting than Yi Mo. He didn't mind. Yellow level middle stage. Yi Mo immediately could tell the man's power. The 2 men protecting him were also at yellow level middle stage. So he was only at yellow level middle stage, but he dared to act up in front of him? Furthermore, that man wasn't really talented. He had reached yellow level middle stage when he was already in his 30s. What caught Yi Mo's attention wasn't the man's power, but the 2 people next to him and his guards, a man and a woman. The man wasn't tall and was in his 50s, but he was at Earth level peak stage. Judging by the chi wave, he was on the same level as Sung Jingxia. What caught Yi Mo's attention was the woman. She was only in her 20s, but she had a very vibrant and attractive face. Yi Mo was shocked at the fact that when he first saw her, she seemed very innocent and soft, making you want to protect her. But when you looked at her for twice, she seemed naturally seductive. When she stood still, her whole body made your mouth dry. Yi Mo sneered. She had indeed a natural seductive body. Yi Mo wasn't sure if it was due to cultivation or natural talent, but she had an eerie beauty. Just from her looks, she was better than Su Jingwen, but in Yi Mo's eyes, she was not as good as even Su Wei. Although Yi Mo disregarded her, Xiu and the others looked at her as though they wanted to eat her. Then the man gave a deadly stare to Luo Ying. His reaction was no better than blackheads. If the woman behind him used her body and seduction skills to showcase her beauty, then the woman in front of him was an indescribable goddess. "I'll take that woman," the man reacted and pointed at Luo Ying. Yi Mo sneered and held his gun. "Haha, don't bother waving your gun. Even if you shoot all the bullets in it, a gun like that won't harm me at all." The man laughed. The 2 bodyguards didn't even bother pulling out their guns. They just charged at Yi Mo. In their eyes, he was no stronger than an ant. They had been training every day how to dodge bullets. A pistol like Yi Mo's was slower than a 54. Although Han Zixin had given Yi Mo a pistol, it wasn't for him to protect himself. It was more as a symbol of power. Bang, bang, he shot the 2 bodyguards right on the forehead, and their bodies fell on the ground. The man looked dumbly at this. He couldn't believe what he has just seen. The man finally reacted, and immediately the cockiness he had was gone. He looked coldly at Yi Mo and didn't say anything. At the same time, the 50-year-old Earth-level peak martial artist stood in front of him. You would have to use a 64 to kill young Master Heng's bodyguards. You must not be a simple man. I'm Kong Lai Wu. What's your name? The 50-year-old man saluted Yi Mo with his fist. Yi Mo thought about the situation. So he was Dai Heng, which meant that the woman behind him was Elan. She was pretty indeed. He hadn't even gone looking for him yet that young Master Heng had already come up to him himself. Chapter 611. See Through. Chapter 611. See Through. Yi Mo had the feeling that Kong Lai Wu's sentence from before contained some information he was yet to pinpoint. Kong Lai Wu continued, "If I'm not wrong, you must be Yi Mo? The one behind, you must be Mayor Sure. If you don't mind, I'll call you young Master Mo." Kong Lai Wu looked calm, but only he knew that if the person in front of him was really Yi Mo, then he was probably no match for him. He couldn't have expected to meet Yi Mo there. Yi Mo finally understood why he felt something was weird about Kong Lai Wu's first sentence. Usually, ancient martial artists wouldn't lower themselves to studying guns. Yet Kong Lai Wu, who was at the peak of the earth level, which meant that he had been studying ancient martial arts since he was small, knew about the Type 64 pistol. That was abnormal. Considering how Kong Lai Wu was talking to him without asking for permission from Dai Heng first, Yi Mo could see that Kong Lai Wu had at least the same status as Dai Heng. Yi Mo ignored Kong Lai Wu and looked at Dai Heng. "You're the one causing trouble in the Jua Corporation case and harassingly Chunchen." Ha! Dai Heng laughed at first, but he immediately put his smile away and said coldly, "So you're Yi Mo. The Chiu family is scared of you, the Song family is scared of you, but I, Dai Heng, am not scared of you. What do you think you are? I know you have some power in Luo Yu, but so what even if you call Suyuwa here? You're right, I caused all of that trouble. What will you do about it?" Yi Mo was dazed, but immediately understood that not many people could know that he owned Luo Yu. He'd been letting Suyuwa, Yu Miaodan, and Zhang Jian manage and speak for Luo Yu. It was normal that Dai Heng thought he was just some manager. This also meant that Han Zixin hadn't spilled anything about him. Yi Mo spun his pistol and ordered plainly, "Send Lu Lin, Yan Yan, and Yi Xiaodi over right now." In response, Dai Heng looked at Kong Lai Wu. Yi Mo understood that this Dai Heng guy wanted Kong Lai Wu to stop his bullets, but even though Kong Lai Wu nodded on the outside, he was sneering in his heart. This Dai Heng was asking to die. Although he really wanted to fight Yi Mo, he didn't dare risk it. He had to wait for an ND. Dai Heng's life had nothing to do with him. Seeing Kong Lai Wu nod, however, Dai Heng said lazily, "Aren't you smart, having figured out everything? But unfortunately, Li Chunsheng is asking to die. Even if he didn't come to Jiutang, his ending will be all the same." As for you, dash, bang, bang, blood sprouted from Dai Heng's knee, and he knelt down on the ground. He looked at his knee in terror, and in that moment, he even forgot about the pain. Immediately after, he looked at Kong Lai Wu with an angry face. He didn't believe that Kong Lai Wu couldn't even catch 2 bullets. They should be like toys to him. So why hadn't he saved him? But Dai Heng saw that Kong Lai Wu's face was also pale. He didn't understand how Yi Mo could shoot bullets so fast with a mere 64. His shots had been many times faster than a normal 64's. This wasn't even the most shocking thing. The moment Yi Mo opened fire, Kong Lai Wu had felt like he was locked on by a very strong killing intent. He felt as if he would be killed immediately as long as he moved so much as an inch. He originally thought that even if he was no match for Yi Mo, the difference between them should still be rather limited, but now he knew that he was far inferior to Yi Mo. He had originally planned on stopping a bullet if it would be going for Dai Heng's vitals, but now he knew that no matter where Yi Mo shot, he wouldn't be able to stop it. He immediately started to sweat. Without an ND, he would be killed all too easily by Yi Mo. Kong Lai Wu finally confirmed that the intel he had once gotten should be right. Yi Mo was a half-step Great Heaven Master, someone infinitely close to the Great Heaven stage. He didn't dare say anything, and just wanted his pal to come faster because otherwise their plan wouldn't be realized. Seeing a Kong Laiwu with his mouth shut and a bad-looking face, Dai-hung knew he couldn't rely on him. "I have one more bullet in my gun. If you talk any more shit, this bullet will be for your forehead." Yemo looked at the gun and casually remarked, "Dai-hung, bring Lu Lin and her 2 daughters here immediately. How dare you take away young Master Mo's friends? Immediately have an ND bring them over to young Master Mo." Kong Laiwu suddenly roared at Dai-hung. Dai-hung shivered and finally felt scared. Although it seemed like Kong Laiwu was his bodyguard, the truth was that Kong Laiwu could ignore him if he wanted. Although he didn't know why it had to be an ND who should bring them here, he could only listen to Kong Laiwu. In the end, Kong Laiwu was actually more in the know than him. He had been planning on sleeping with all 3 women together, yet now he had already lost his knees. Meanwhile, the woman behind Dai-hung was dazed. Everything had happened so fast. The big tree she relied on had already been hacked down. Dai-hung immediately picked up the phone and called an ND to bring the 3 women over. He had been very cocky recently. He left China 5 years ago, and when he came back, he was full of confidence. The reason was that he had joined a top-grade organization not long ago. Yi Emo looked at Dai-hung and knew that he was just a scapegoat, but Kong Laiwu's last words were somewhat questionable. Immediately have an ND bring them over to young Master Mo. Was it important who sent them over? Before the 3 got there, a large amount of police officers came. They were immediately full of worry, looking at the ground covered in blood and dead people. Kong Laiwu was about to put a stop to it and send the police away when Yi Mo took out a document and said, "Take the dead men away and lock up these hoodlums." The police took the document and immediately gave it back respectfully. "Yes, sir." Seeing the police come and go so fast without even asking why Yi Mo had killed. Even Kong Laiwu really wanted to know what Yi Mo's other identity was. "Wang Chu, you guys can go for now. Shishio, you should stay." Yi Mo knew they wouldn't be of any help anyway. Wang Chu agreed and left. Shishio's other friends also didn't dare stay and quickly ran. Only Shui Guiyang and Shishio stayed. "Young Master Mo, we really didn't plan on starting trouble with you. The Dai family and Chiu family just wanted to join up against the Li family, but then the Yi family also joined, and what happened, happened. However, please forgive us for any disrespect." Kong Laiwu didn't hide anything. Yi Mo wasn't interested in political warfare and smiled. "Mr. Kong, you must not be of simple origin to be able to reach the peak of the earth level. Other than the Zhang family having Zhang Zhihui, I really don't know which Chinese family has an earth peak level master. Are you really from the Dai family?" Kong Laiwu's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect Yi Mo would be able to see through his power level. This shook him. If he had fought with Yi Mo, then it would be understandable, but he had never so much as exchanged moves with Yi Mo. So how could Yi Mo tell? Was he already at the Great Heaven level? Before Kong Laiwu could answer, Yi Mo spoke in contempt once more. "You can't be from the Dai family, right? To be honest, I don't even think you're Chinese. Your way of doing things seems quite familiar. Makes me think of this organization I heard about called Northern Sand." Kong Laiwu shook, and the tea in front of him fell over. There was an insurmountable feud between Yi Mo and Northern Sand, so even if Yi Mo hadn't shot Dai-hung, he would have tried to find an opportunity to get an ND to come. He really didn't know how Yi Mo was able to tell he was part of Northern Sand. At that moment, Yi Mo's spirit sense picked up on a white man of small stature walking slowly to the restaurant door. Chapter 612. Such powerful weapon. Chapter 612. Such powerful weapon. The moment he saw the white man, Yi Mo knew he was an ND. Because Kong Laiwu had requested for him to come, He studied an Endi closely. The guy walked very slowly and had a strange chi wave. It wasn't his first time in contact with this type of person. Yi Mo immediately knew that man was a mutant. Although he didn't know what level, he wouldn't be any weaker than Peter, who he had met at Luo Tsam. Yi Mo sneered. If they wanted to do anything to him, just with that guy, then they underestimated him too much. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned the man's sleeve and found that there was a gun in it, smaller than an average pistol. Its design was very strange. Were they planning to use that strange weapon against him? Yi Mo studied the gun, but he honestly believed that firearms really didn't pose a threat to him. Even if they had nuclear weapons, it had to be able to hit him first. The most threatening weapon Yi Mo had ever encountered was the explosive laser bomb, but that thing cost 100 million to be made. And even though he wasn't an idiot who would stand there and just let them blow him up. So, what could a pistol like that do to him? Still, Yi Mo was much more careful now. Despite not considering the pistol a threat, he still scanned it with his spirit sense. As soon as he did, he got up immediately. What's wrong? Seeing Yi Mo get up, Luo Ing also got up. Nothing. I'm thinking about something. Sit down. Yi Mo smiled to Luo Ing and said. Luo Ing knew that Yi Mo had found out something, but she didn't ask. He had noticed that the pistol didn't have bullets, which was no normal gun's mechanism. But what really shocked him the most was that there was a small piece of crystal in the gun. This crystal was placed in a sort of circuit that he didn't understand. Furthermore, that small crystal was a piece of the extreme energy crystal. Even though Yi Mo didn't know how powerful that pistol was, he knew it had certainly been designed by Yi Xing. It could definitely threaten his life. Young Master Mo, don't worry. Lu Lin and the others haven't been mistreated at all. When Dai Heng saw that Yi Mo's expression wasn't good, he feared for his life. Yi Mo wasn't in the mood to talk with Dai Heng. His spirit sense was focused on the short white man. He rejoiced that he had spirit sense. If that gun was really powerful and he hadn't had spirit sense, he would have been at risk of dying that day. Even if he had reached great heaven, the white man walked to the counter and asked for something, but he didn't come up immediately. Yi Mo also noticed that Lu Lin and the rest hadn't even arrived yet. At that moment, for people entered through door. The leading man was a tall white man, and 3 women followed behind him. It was Lu Lin and the others, but they looked fatigued and despaired. Yi Mo was dazed. Had he made a mistake? Was the man who just entered an Endi? Was the short man who was in front of him just a passerby? Yi Mo shook his head and immediately refuted that idea. A passerby wouldn't carry an extreme energy stone pistol just like that. They are working together, Yi Mo thought. The tall, white man led the 3 women into the elevator. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned him. He found out that he was mutant too, and not a weak one. He also had a pistol, but it was an ordinary one. Just when Yi Mo was getting quite confused, the short white man also walked into the elevator with a waitress. Yi Mo breathed at ease. His guess was right. The 2 men didn't talk to each other, but they were on the same team. The 6 people all exited the elevator on the 6th floor. The short, white man looked like he didn't mind the people in front of him at all. He talked with the waitress as he squished her ass. The 2 groups were approximately 6 meters apart. Soon, they reached room 616, and the tall, white man knocked on the door. Kong Laiwu was getting up to open, but Yi Mo stopped him. He walked to the door and sighed. 6 meters were just enough for the short, white man to reach the door when he opened it. It seemed they had already thought of a thorough plan to deal with him. Yi Mo didn't understand why they were putting their hopes on that pistol. It seemed that as long as they opened fire, he wouldn't be able to get away. Yi Mo walked to the door, but kept his spirit sense on the short man. Although he seemed to be flirting with the waitress, he was also highly concentrated. The moment he opened the door, he flung a wind blade to the short man. Almost at the same time, the tall, white man pulled out his gun, and Kong Lai-Wu also attacked from behind. Everything happened so fast. Just when Yi Mo had thrown a wind blade, while the white man hadn't pulled out his gun yet and Kong Lai-Wu's fist was still half a meter from Yi Mo's back, a blue beam of light flashed. It pierced the tall, white man's back, going through his stomach diagonally and piercing the ground a few millimeters away from Yi Mo's toe. Yi Mo noticed that the blue ray had gone through 6 floors and into the ground in an extreme high speed. So fast. But Yi Mo didn't have time to think. He knew Kong Lai-Wu's fist was about to hit him. He ignored Kong Lai-Wu. To him, the short, white man had the biggest threat. He dashed to the short, white man and grabbed his arm, which hadn't fell on the floor yet. At this moment, Kong Lai-Wu's fist hit the tall, white man. His target had been Yi Mo, but he had instantly disappeared. That tall, white man was already dead because of being shot by the blue light, but now he was struck by Kong Lai-Wu's fist too. Yi Mo grabbed the pistol from the hand and finally felt assured. He couldn't help to applaud the man's speed. He had attacked first, but the man had still managed to pull the trigger. It was because he had sliced off his arm that the pistol aimed down. If not, it would have gone through his leg or chest. His wind blade wasn't as fast as the blue light. That's why the man still could lift up a bit and fire. It had been a close call. Yi Mo was sweating. If Kong Lai-Wu had opened the door first, his wind blade would have been even slower. Perhaps Kong Lai-Wu hadn't realized that he was being used as a mean to hit Yi Mo. If he had died or gotten injured, it was fine, but Luo Ying was with him. He didn't want to imagine what would have happened to her. Chapter 613. The Threat of Northern Sand. Chapter 613. The Threat of Northern Sand. This crazy organization. They actually sent such crazy killers and weapons to kill him. This pistol could pierce through everything no matter what you had to block it. You would definitely die. Yi Mo was sure that he could easily kill 10 of these mutants. But what if they all had such weapons? If they attacked at the same time, it would be very hard to tell who would win in the end. Yi Mo was sure that the blue light would end up hitting him first. The blue light was beyond Yi Mo's reaction speed. Was this how the Northern Sand wanted to take him out? But Yi Mo believed that even if they had such a powerful weapon, it might be the case that only this white man was able to react with such speed. You knew that true attacker was me? Your reaction speed is no lesser than mine. You're strong, very strong. The white man spoke and fell to the ground. He had killed himself. Why was this guy so similar to the Black Sun Empire members, who still killed themselves with poison when they were caught? But why weren't Kong Lai-Wu and Dai Hung committing suicide? Yi Mo turned back and looked at Kong Lai-Wu, who had a pale face, and said coldly, "Nice calculations, Mr. Kong. Your Northern Sand is quite good. One thing, though, you were planning on having this tall, white guy mask the blue light, but perhaps you were chosen to filter it too. To be honest, I really didn't expect you guys to be able to make such a weapon." Kong Lai-Wu's face was bad. He knew he was done for. Yi Mo ignored him and looked at Lu Lin and company. "Now that you're here, you don't have to worry anymore." Then Yi Mo looked at the tall, white man in shock. The place where the blue light had pierced him started to expand. "Brother Yi, thank you for saving us again." Yen Yen was the first to react. "Thank you, truly. Yi Mo, I don't even want the heritage anymore, just as long as the 3 of us can be safe." Lu Lin thought they were done for when they were brought there, but then they saw Yi Mo, the roller coaster of emotions they had been through, and the scene of dead bodies made them feel happy to be alive. The battle had gone by so fast that by the time Shi Xiu and Xue Guiyang reacted, it was already over. Yi Mo walked to Kong Lai-Wu and patted his shoulder with his chi, saying, "I sealed your meridians, so do your best for me. I will wait for you in Jiutang. If you accomplish anything, come find me tomorrow. If not, there's no need to come." Yi Mo then walked to Dai Hung and said, Go back and make me happy. If I'm not satisfied, you can imagine the consequences. Then, Yi Mo scanned Elan. All she felt when Yi Mo looked at her was frigidity. The reason why he didn't kill Dai Hung was because there were a lot of things he needed the guy to do. He could kill Dai Hung at any time anyway. Gaining an obedient dog was much better than killing him. After seeing Yi Mo actually leave, Kong Laiwu honestly couldn't fathom why Yi Mo was letting them go. But soon after, Kong Laiwu felt the inner qi in his body slowly gather towards his dantian. He couldn't use it, and at the current rate at which it was gathering, he had 2 days' time before his dantian would explode. At this moment, he finally understood why Yi Mo had let him go. Ooh, Brother Yi, your girlfriend, is really pretty. Yi Xiaodi was the first to adjust her state back to normal. Thank you, you are also very pretty. Yi Mo smiled to her, and then said to Lu Lin, after Dai Hung brings the money here, you guys can move to Luoyu if you don't like it here. Huh, we can go to Luoyu? I heard the requirements for getting in are very strict. Also, why would Dai Hung bring any money over? Yen Yen said. Yi Mo replied, if he's a smart person, he will, don't worry. As for Luoyu, I'll give you guys a number you should call. Yi Mo, will Brother Chunqing be fine? Won't this cause problems with the Dai and Chiu family? Xiu asked worriedly. Yi Mo said, I don't want to meddle in those fights, but Li Chunqing is my friend, so I will help him. Don't worry. I believe Kong Laiwu knows what to do as well. Yi Mo didn't want to kill Kong Laiwu. He might have already left a mark on a high-level member of Northern Sand. He wouldn't mind having an extra one. Northern Sand made him feel threatened. It seemed like Northern Sand was treating him as their #1 enemy too. One day he would have to face off with Northern Sand. He didn't have to make Kong Laiwu join his side to control him. That wasn't realistic anyway, but he could still control him in other ways. Kong Laiwu appeared earlier than Yi Mo had expected. He came to Yi Mo's place early on the second day. Northern Sand didn't start the fight between the Li family and the Dai and Chiu families. We were just making use of the event. We can promise that what we wish to do has no conflict of interest with you. Dai Hung did Li Chunqing in because he happened to get the support of his family for it. Kong Laiwu opened up completely. Yi Mo knew that Kong Laiwu was trying to get him to trust him. Then Kong Laiwu took out a check and said, this is the money for the Jua Corporation. I've brought it over. Yi Mo looked at Lu Lin and asked, this check is 900 million, but I don't know the market value of Jua Corporation. Is it enough? It's enough. In fact, it's not worth that much. Lu Lin knew that the corporation was worth 500 million at most. Yi Mo waved his hand and said, the extra is compensation. Just take it. With Yi Mo's confirmation, Lu Lin agreed. Seeing Yi Mo take the check, Kong Laiwu breathed a sigh of relief and then said, Secretary Li's case has been proven to have been someone wrongly accusing him. He has returned to his position. As compensation, the Dai and Chiu family are willing to vacate a provincial vice mayor position in Yifeng, so I'm just conveying the message. Yi Mo thought, it's good that Li Chunqing got promoted again. He nodded and agreed. Then he said to Xiu, Li Chunqing got promoted again. Go ahead and go to Yifeng to celebrate with him. Of course. Xiu immediately nodded. That will do, Yi Mo said as he patted Kong Laiwu's shoulder. He not only removed the restrictions but also secretly left behind a hidden wave of qi. Kong Laiwu was relieved that Yi Mo didn't kill him and let him go instead. He immediately turned to leave, not daring to mention anything about their most precious super light beam gun. Chapter 614, 5-Element Rock. Chapter 614, 5-Element Rock. Lu Lin. You three go with Xiu to Yifeng, and let Li Chunqing help you get to Luoyu. I still have to take care of some other stuff with Luoying. It'll be a while before I go back. Yemo saw that he was done here and didn't want to stay. If it hadn't been for the trouble in Jutang, he would have already taken Luo Ing to the Duanheng Ranges to find that nun. To him, the most important thing right now was the golden page and where she had gotten her spirit stone from. Since the nun had also guessed that he had the other 2 pages, she probably didn't want to go back to the small world. To her, the most important thing was also having the golden page. He was very badly injured, and Luo Ing wasn't strong. Jie Sun didn't know he had a Lotus Life pill, so she must have thought that she would get them for sure. When she recovered, she would go to the village to find him and Luo Ing. Lu Lin knew that they had to get to Luo Yu as soon as they could. Although Yemo was strong, he couldn't stay with them forever. She said gratefully, "Thank you. If it wasn't for you, we would be in peril." Yemo smiled. "It's fine. You should leave soon. It's not safe for you to stay in Jiutang." Hearing this, Lu Lin hesitated before saying, "Joa got a colorful stone back when he was young. He used to say that stone was very precious, but he didn't know why. He didn't dare let people look at it, fearing it would get unwanted attention. It's in the house. I wanted to give it to you last time you came, but you left so fast that we didn't get a chance. Now it's too late. When we were captured, they took the stone too." Yemo waved his hand. "It was just a stone. I heard Jua talk about it too. He said he would give it to me when he got free. Since it's not here, never mind." Yemo thought it was at most a precious gemstone, which wasn't much use to him. "Mom, are you talking about the colorful stone that's warm when you hold it in your hand, but sometimes it's also cool?" Yen Yen asked. "What? The stone changes its temperature?" Yemo intervened before Lu Lin could answer. She looked strangely at Yemo and said, "Yes, it's a very eerie stone. What color is it? Does it change color to you?" Yemo was getting more excited. Lu Lin nodded. "Yes, the stone's color does change indeed. Sometimes it's just red and white, and then sometimes red, white, and blue. Moreover, in rare occasions, it could get to 5 colors. Have you seen this sort of stone before?" Although Yemo was very excited, he kept himself calm. He knew it was a 5-element rock. It was a very rare material for artifact forging, even rarer than star jade. It was something used to make spirit artifacts, which were countless times more powerful than magic artifacts. Yemo knew that even if he had the rock, he wouldn't be able to make spirit artifacts. If he added a bit of a 5-element rock to ordinary materials, he could make a flying sword. He had been looking for materials to make a flying sword for long, but he had seemed to have ran out of luck. Now that he had found the 5-element rock, he wasn't going to let it go. "How big is that stone? Where did you lose it?" Yemo asked, as though she could feel Yemo's excitement and desperation. Yi Shaodai suddenly asked, "Brother Yi, is that stone very important? More precious than a diamond?" Perhaps in her eyes, the most expensive thing in the world was diamond. Yemo nodded. An egg-sized 5-element rock was worth a few million spirit stones. Yemo had never seen that many, not even in his past life. He really didn't understand how the Earth could have such thing. The only explanation was that it came from asteroids and meteorites. Lu Lin immediately said, "The stone had the size of 2 fists. After our final trial for the case, I knew things weren't going to be that simple. We started packing our things, but before we could leave, we were taken away by the Wu Jin Association." "Wu Jin Association?" Yemo questioned. There were too many of these small gangs. Wu Jin Association is a rather well-known gang in Hedong province. It wasn't too important before, but due to some reason, the mainland gangs started to decline, so these small gangs rose in power. Shui Guiyang had been working at the police station and knew these things better than everyone else. Lu Lin nodded. "After they took us away, all our belongings remain in their hands. We still haven't gotten them back yet." After understanding the situation, Yemo got up and said to Shixiu and Shui Guiyang, "You guys can go back to Yifeng first. I'll return once I'm done here." Brother Yi, should we wait for you and Sister Luo at Yifeng's? Yi Xiaodai asked. Yi Mo smiled. No need. Try to find a way to get to Luo Yu once you're in Yifeng. I'm busy. I'll go visit you guys to Luo Yu. Yi Mo wanted to send Luo Ing to Luo Yu before he went looking for the five-element stone. After being aware of the threat that pistols posed, he was sure that Northern Sand could make at least 8 more with the stones they had. Without counting the one he had already dealt with, they had about 7 of them. If something happened to Luo Ing, even if he reached Ascension stage, he wouldn't be able to forgive himself. Without Luo Ing, he doubted if he would have the will to continue cultivation. After marrying Luo Ing, she was a part of his life. If they managed to make not only a pistol but also a sniper that was outside his spirit sense range, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. Yi Mo was sure that Northern Sand wasn't going to let him go after suffering such heavy loss. They just didn't have the confidence to take him out anymore. Luo Ing seemed to know what Yi Mo was thinking and touched his face. And, I'll wait for you. Didn't you say your sister was at Ninghai? Send me there. Be careful. Yi Mo took out that extreme energy stone pistol and gave it to Luo Ing. Su, take this pistol. If you're ever in danger, don't give them any chance, just fire. No one will know I'm staying in Ninghai. I won't be in danger. So I'd rather you keep this pistol. Luo Ing immediately rejected. He hugged her and said, This pistol can only be used a few times, and I won't use it. You can use it to protect yourself and Bei Wei. I'll come to meet you guys as soon as I get the stone. When he realized that he was going to take Luo Ing to Luo Yu, Yi Mo hesitated. He didn't know if it was the right moment to tell her about Qingxue. Luo Ing could see Yi Mo's hesitance, but she didn't ask. He would tell her what needs to be told. Chapter 615. Wu Jin Association. Chapter 615. Wu Jin Association, compared to the chaos Beijing was in, the second largest city of China, Jin City, was rather calm. Yet the wealthiest family in the city, the Shen family, wasn't calm at all. Their ancestor was supposedly one Shenwansan, a very famous businessman, who, despite being brought down many times, used his great business genius to firmly establish the Shen family. Although they weren't famous to the level of being on the Forbes list, those in the business all knew that the truly wealthy people didn't appear in Forbes anyway. The Shen family was one such family. The reason why the Shen family wasn't calm that particular day was because the leader of the Shen family, Shen Taigong, had died due to illness. According to the rules of the family, the next family leader would be the eldest son of the first wife. There should be no exceptions. Unless the eldest son died, this rule wouldn't change. The eldest son hadn't died yet, so there shouldn't be any discord normally, but the problem was that even though that generation's eldest son hadn't died, he wasn't too different from being dead. Shen Xiuyin had been in bed for half a year as a vegetable. The Shun family was a big family, and so there was discord in the Shun family mansion over the position of family leader. Shen Yin was also from the Shun family. Shen Yin had come back from Hong Kong a while before already, but her auntie Qingkue hadn't come back with her after she got well. She had left Hong Kong alone, and even Shen Yin didn't know where she went, so she was a bit sad. The first thing she did when she got back to Jin City was to report to the family that her auntie had been cured, more precisely by a young man on the plane with runic paper. She told them to find this young man so that he could treat her big uncle. Some people did believe that Qingkue was cured at first, but when Shen Yin said that it was thanks to a young man using charms, no one bothered to talk to her anymore. If her condition had been cured, why didn't she come back to Jin City? They all thought that the reason why Shen Yin said that had to be because she wanted the family to send more money to treat Qingkue. Couldn't the girl come up with a better lie? Shen Yin finally went to find her father, but her father's words made her even more sad. He just told her to try not to get too close to Qingkue and reproached her for her spreading news that runic paper had cured Qingkue. Helplessly, Shin Een could only find her cousin Shin Feilin to unfreeze the card. But now that Shin Feilin knew that the card was taken by a fraud, he didn't help her. Although it was only a few million, he still didn't want to give it to a fraud. Shin Een was so desperate that she almost fought Shin Feilin, but the card still wasn't unfrozen in the end. The Shin family members didn't believe her, and no one cared about Ani Chinkue. Shin Een felt extremely disappointed, and she finally understood why Ani Chinkue left the family and didn't want to come back. Meanwhile, Yi Mo sent Luo Ing to Ninghai, and Su Jingwen went to Beijing. Apparently, it was her grandfather's birthday. When Tang Beiwei saw Luo Ing, she couldn't help but approve of her brother's eyes. Both of his wives were so pretty. However, she also couldn't help but worry about when the two would meet. How would her brother deal with it? At the same time, she felt bad for Su Jingwen. She was such an excellent girl, yet her brother wasn't interested in her. And the same was true for sister Yun Bing, who often came to visit her. After Yi Mo sent Luo Ing to Ninghai, he made some arrangements and then went back to Jiutong. Although the golden page was important, it's not like he needed it right at that moment. He did need the 5-element rock immediately, though. Wu Jin Association was the biggest gang in Jiutang, but their operations weren't limited to Jiutang. They had branches in almost all of Hedong province's cities. Blackhead was a part of that network, and his company was just a sub-company of Wu Jin Association. Blackhead had just wanted to use Shirxiu to earn some money. However, when the Wu Jin Association found out that Shirxiu had gone to help Li Chunsheng, they told him they wanted to kill Shirxiu. Yet instead, Blackhead was killed. Someone had dared kill Blackhead on their turf? This was outrageous. Wu Jin Association immediately used the most of their gangster-based information network and found out that the person who killed Blackhead came from Beijing and was someone with a license to kill. This made the boss of Wu Jin Association hesitant about getting revenge. If he really went and did something to this person, the government would end up chasing him down. No matter how strong they were just a gang in the end. Although they had a lot of powerful people in the gang, if something like that happened, they might not be able to help him. But if he didn't get revenge, they would lose their name, and it would be impossible to keep their strong solidarity. So, Xiong Qianni gathered all the higher-ups of the gang to have a meeting and discuss how they should get revenge. Brother Xiong, if young Master Hung wasn't injured, we wouldn't have been able to do anything, but since he's injured, I feel like we can do something. Who does that guy think he is, daring to injure young Master Hung? Someone commented. Xiong Qianni frowned and waved his hand. We will wait a while and see how young Master Hung deals with it. That man is someone with a license to kill. After all, we need to be careful. Someone bring that small cop over. Xiong Qianni already knew that Dai Heng's caretaker had gone to meet the man but left quickly, and then Lu Lin and company all left Jiutang. Yet the man who killed Blackhead along with that beautiful woman was still in the hotel. It seems like that young kid has quite the background. Dai Heng's caretaker went today, yet he didn't take anyone away, which means they reached an agreement. Xiong Qianni thought for a bit, and then said, "Listen to my order. No one is to touch that person." Who is Dai Heng? That cocky to the extreme guy had easily killed a middle-level official. That's how powerful he was, and yet someone like him had his legs broken and still had to suck it up. Soon, the cop was brought over. He was covered in blood, and there was even blood on his head. "Officer Liu, I'll give you one more chance. Tell me how that guy who killed Blackhead is called. What is his background? You might not be afraid of death, but what about your wife? Are you not worried about your wife? I can promise you here, and now that if you tell me what that guy is called and what his background is, I won't touch your wife," Xiong Qianni said. Lu Zhuan knew that he was done for, and that even if he answered Xiong Qianni, he would still be going to die. Just when Lu Zhuan was about to speak, a voice suddenly appeared in the room. "My name is Yi Mo, And if you're that desperate to get to know me, I'm here. Luckily, it's not too late, and everyone is here. Who are you? How did you get in? Xiong Chinny got up immediately and looked at Yi Mo in shock. I walked in. As he said that, Yi Mo kicked two hoodlums who had tried to subjugate him away. Xiong Chinny didn't bother with the two hoodlums, but his face changed drastically, and he asked in a shaky voice, "Wait, your name is Yi Mo? Beijing Yi family's Yi Mo?" Chapter 616. Speak. Chapter 616. Speak, young master Mo, we didn't mean to offend you. Why did you come all the way here? Xiong Chinny got up and said with a pale face. Everyone in the room looked at their big boss in shock. They didn't understand. Even if their boss saw the mayor, he wouldn't be like this. Who was that Yi Mo? Why had their fearless boss gotten so scared? Other people didn't know Yi Mo, but he had heard of him. They said that the Song family had faded away because of a certain Yi Mo, but what made Xiong Chinny fear him the most was that a cruel person had appeared at the Ghost City's Hidden Sex tournament, and his name was Yi Mo. Although he didn't have the right to go to the tournament, they said that Yi Mo was a killing machine. He even dared to fight the legendary Hidden Sections. Anyone who belonged to the Hidden Sex could kill whoever stood on their way easily. Yet, Yi Mo could effortlessly beat the Hidden Sections. Xiong Chinny was an insect next to him. No wonder he dared to kill openly without concerns. Moreover, no wonder he had dared to break Dai Heng's leg, and he hadn't done anything about it. After thinking it through, Xiong Chinny's legs were shaking. Many years had passed since he had been that scared. Not even when he had faced his big boss for the first time as a small cloney, he had been that scared. Seeing Yi Mo approach him, Xiong Chinny no longer dared to stand in front of the seats and walked down quickly saying, "Young Master Mo, please have a seat." Yi Mo sat on the head seat and scanned Xiong Chinny. "I heard you're looking for me, right?" Xiong Chinny's teeth clattered as he said, No, how dare I look for you? Young Master Mo, this is a mistake, just a mistake. Sure Xiao is my friend, and I'm familiar with Lu Lin's family. Yet, your association has been trying to do harm to them recently. Although he could deal with the problem by throwing some wind blades, Yi Mo didn't want to do that. No, that's a misunderstanding. I regret listening to young Master Hung. Although he knew he had offended Yi Mo because of this, he still had a sliver of hope of putting the blame on Dai Hung. Yi Mo knew that Dai Hung had ordered him to do it, but Xiong Chinny was no good person either. He looked at the policeman and said, "Go back and get things ready. Call Li Chunsheng. Let him put you in charge of this case and get rid of Wu Jin Association's power in the province. Take this pill and go do this." Lu Jun was dazed for a while after hearing this. He was getting a promotion. With Li Chunsheng by his side, what couldn't he do? He quickly took the pill and walked outside. Telling the police to investigate Wu Jin Association right at their base was more than a slap in the face. FCK? Who are you? You dare dash. Wu Jin Association was a big gang, and there were quite a lot of people who weren't afraid of death. But the man who just spoke couldn't finish speaking. He was shot dead in the forehead by Yi Mo. This is the last bullet. Yi Mo looked at the gun and shook his head. This thing didn't need chi. It was quite convenient. Xiong Chinny's expression kept changing. He knew that Yi Mo was very strong, but it was too insulting. He had almost knelt down. Yet Yi Mo still told the police in his face to have the province committee annihilate their power. Should he keep enduring this? He had to. He knew how powerful someone who could beat the Hidden Sex was. F***CK. Brothers, let's go and kill this bitch. Seeing that Yi Mo was going to kill them all, Xiong Chinny was scared. But there were some people who weren't. The vice leader had been unhappy with his ruling for a long time. It was his chance to bring Xiong Chinny down. With his call, more than half of the 20 or so members pulled out their swords. Xiong Chinny saw his men go up, but he didn't move nor stop them. He had the slight hope that he had heard wrong about Yi Mo. Yi Mo smiled and threw some wind blades. He really wasn't interested in fighting these people. In the blink of an eye, these men were all killed, although there weren't any dismembered bodies. Yi Mo's wind blades had aimed accurately into their hearts, causing a bloodbath. The air had the smell of blood. From the uproar to the massacre, there had been only a few seconds, and then everything turned calm. The remaining people's faces were pale. They usually saw a lot of blood. Some had even killed before, but they'd never seen someone like Yi Mo just killing tens of people a hand wave. Xiong Qianni got more frightened. He didn't think someone who cultivated ancient martial arts could reach such a superhuman level. What shook him the most was how calm Yi Mo was when slaughtering the men. Then, scene fell into silence. Yi Mo didn't talk either. He saw a fat man running inside with desperation. The man pushed open the door, and before he noticed the situation, he said, "Brother Xiong, the higher-ups are sending people to investigate the Wu Jin Association." He finally realized that things weren't right. The floor was covered with dead bodies, and other than the man sitting at the top, everyone had a pale face and shaky legs. "What's going on?" The fat man stopped walking. He wanted to retreat. "Who are you? You came to notify the Wu Jin Association?" Yi Mo glanced at the fat man. The fat man glanced at Xiong Qianni, who was staring at the ground. He immediately knew things weren't going well. He saw the gun in Yi Mo's hand and didn't dare retreat. He said loudly, "I'm the police chief of Jiutang. What's going on here?" Yi Mo shook his head. If the fat man hadn't come, he really wouldn't have bothered going, but since he came, he didn't need to go at all. He would save some trouble for Li Chunxing, and without thinking, he threw a wind blade over. He knew that killing a police chief would bring some trouble to Li Chunxing, but the Dai and Chiu family were already concerned about Yi Mo. If Li Chunxing still couldn't deal with it, there was no use in him staying in the political scene. He stared at Xiong Qianni and asked, "You captured Lu Lin's family, right?" Seeing that Yi Mo dared to even kill a police chief, Xiong Qianni's heart went ice cold. He said shakily, "Yes, but we didn't treat them with disrespect." Yi Mo continued asking, "She had some things in her house. Did you take them too? Where are they?" I don't know about this. Baosheng is the one responsible for these matters." Xiong Qianni looked at his number one man. Baosheng was usually the one abusing people, but he finally got a taste of his own medicine. The only difference was that although he was scared, his eyes kept turning. There was a colorful stone. "Where is it? Speak." When Yi Mo claimed the last word, he slammed the table. Chapter 617. Chase. Chapter 617. Chase, yes, I'll speak. I threw away most things, but I did sell such a stone. Baosheng saw Yi Mo's face turn very ugly, and immediately understood that Yi Mo was looking for that stone. He didn't dare hide anything. That stone was colorful and sometimes changed colors. I took it to Gem Banner, and the boss there, Boss Luo, bought it for 8 million. What? Xiong Qianni didn't believe his ears. Even the association itself couldn't easily earn 8 million, yet his most loyal man had actually secretly sold that stone for that much. Xiong Qianni's face was getting worse, but he soon remembered the situation he was in. His life might be as good as over. Why would he care about his men's loyalty? Yi Mo got up and said coldly to Baosheng, "Take me to that Gem Banner right now." Then he Xiong Qianni a cold look. Xiong Qianni's heart quenched. He was sure he was done for. The slaughter god in front of him gave him a look right before leaving. This meant he was going to die for sure. Thinking like that, Xiong Qianni took out a dagger and quickly cut 2 of his own fingers off. He originally wanted to cut off his whole wrist, but in the end couldn't do it. Yi Mo spoke calmly. "When that cop brings people to disassemble Wu Jin Association, you know what to do." If you don't want to cooperate, you can try and run, but I don't think you can run faster than Qianlong too. Young Master Mo, I wouldn't dare to. I will wait for Officer Lu to come, and I will cooperate with him to pull out Wu Jin Association from its roots. Xiong Chinny's face was pale because of the pain, but he didn't dare say no to Yi Mo. He knew that Yi Mo wasn't killing him only because he wanted him to help completely take out Wu Jin Association. Concerning Qianlong too, he had indeed heard that he had also died in Yi Mo's hands. Compared to Qianlong too, Xiong Chinny was worth less than his nail. As for Bao Sheng, he was very devious and had killed many people. Before joining Wu Jin Association, he once raped and killed 2 university girls, yet even though he had no significant background or money, he was still fine. From this, one could see the level of his cunning. Compared to Xiong Qianni, Bao Sheng was far better at scheming. In fact, ever since Bao Sheng joined Wu Jin Association, he had constantly been thinking about replacing Xiong Qianni. So after bringing Yi Mo to Gem Banner, he was thinking of how to escape. Should he cut his fingers like Xiong Qianni or something? As Bao Sheng brought Yi Mo to the door, Yi Mo stopped and looked at the confused Bao Sheng. You've killed quite a lot, right? Bao Sheng didn't expect Yi Mo to ask him such an irrelevant question. No, his first reaction was to deny. You can stay here and guard the door, Yi Mo said, but then he soon threw a backhanded wind blade before leaving. Bao Sheng clutched his throat and was in disbelief. Why did Yi Mo kill him at that time? Didn't he just want him to show him the way? Bao Sheng was unsatisfied, but he suddenly came to understand something as he fell over. Yi Mo had wanted to give him hope and then kill him immediately after. Yi Mo had wanted to torture him. A gust of hatred rose in his soul, and he cursed, Yi, even in death, I will make sure you don't live well. Yi Mo knew that since this Gem Banner place had spent a few million to buy the stone, they knew the stone's worth. He might not be able to buy it back with money, but if he couldn't, he would just have to steal it. But he couldn't let Gem Banner know who he was. If they knew something about him that would make them suspect him, and they had his photo, that would be embarrassing. Before he entered Gem Banner, Yi Mo disguised himself as an ugly, bearded man. He even fabricated a knife scar on his face. He chose such a look to appear more threatening. Gem Banner was China's biggest organization for trading jade and antiques, and they had shops all over the world, so Yi Mo found it really quickly. Is Boss Luo here? Yi Mo asked while scanning the shop with his spirit sense. He had a bad feeling right after because there was no colorful rock to be found. Wait a moment, I will call him for you. As one girl saw Yi Mo's ferocious look, she immediately called Boss Luo. Not long after, an old man came in and asked, which friend is looking for me? The man was in his 60s. I am, because I have some private things to ask Boss Luo about, Yi Mo replied simply. No problem. I'm Luo Yu. I'll tell you whatever I know. Luo Yu could also tell that Yi Mo was no good guy and tried to avoid offending him. So Yi Mo straight up asked, Boss Luo, a few days ago, Wu Jing Association's Bao Sheng apparently sold a colorful rock in this shop. Is that the case? Hearing this, Luo Yu's heart skipped. He had bought the stone from Bao Sheng rather cheaply, yet now, after quite a few days, someone came looking for it. Seeing Luo Yu not speak, Yi Mo sneered. Bao Sheng stole something of mine, and I've dealt with him already, so don't try to play tricks with me, Boss Luo. Or else, don't blame me for getting rough. Hearing this, Luo Yu's back went cold. He knew who Bao Sheng was all too clear, yet such a person had been dealt with by this bearded man. Although Gem Banner didn't have to be afraid of someone like him, they did proper business. So it really wouldn't be good to have this become an incident. The people nearby heard that Wu Jin Association was involved and quickly left. This Luo Yu thought for a bit and started speaking. Gem Banner is an upright business, but friend, you're right. A few days ago I did indeed buy a colorful rock. However, We only care about the quality of the product. We don't care about its origin. Yi Mo sneered. Oh, if you don't care about the origin of things, that means your place is a good place for selling off dirty goods. Friend, you can't say that. Baosheng said that the rock had a clean origin, and of course we can't investigate that. Gem Banner is just a simple shop. We can't investigate every customer. If we did, there would be no need for us to think about doing business. Luoyu was worried. If it wasn't for Yi Mo looking so ferocious, he wouldn't even have said that much. Yi Mo didn't want to waste time talking to this Luoyu. He just had to know where it was. From Luoyu's tone, it would seem the shop knew the value of the stone, so Yi Mo just had to find where it had been sent to and buy it as soon as possible. And if that wasn't possible, he would steal it. Thinking like this, Yi Mo just said, I don't want to have to say anything else. Just tell me where the stone is now. Hearing this, Luoyu breathed a sigh of relief. It's been shipped to the Gem Banner in Jin City, and in a few days, it will appear in an auction as the final prod dash before Luoyu could finish. Yi Mo had already disappeared. He needed to get to Jin City right away. If the 5-element rock was sold, how would he find it? He had to get it before it was sold. Chapter 6:18 Despair. Chapter 6:18 Despair. After leaving Jiutang, Yi Mo went to Jin City as soon as he could. The Gem Banner in Jin City was located in an antique store street. When Yi Mo got there, he almost thought he had come back to Luoyu Continent's cultivation cities. The structures there were more and more ancient, and there were quite a lot of roadside stalls. He looked at this familiar yet unknown street and lost his mind for a moment. Yi Mo found Gem Banner quickly. He had heard Boss Luo say that the boss' surname was Pan Sheng. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s, slightly fat. This shop was much bigger than the one in Jiutang. They had everything. Yi Mo scanned with his spirit sense carefully, but he was immediately disappointed. The 5-element rock wasn't in there either. Is Boss Pan here? I have to talk with him about business. Yi Mo went inside and asked. A bearded man with a ferocious-looking knife scar had come in yelling, and this immediately made everyone move away. Hello, sir. Our boss is out for a business meeting. He will be back tomorrow afternoon, a young man in his 20s answered. He knew that kind of people could be looking for trouble, so it was best not to leave any excuse for them to start a fight. But Yi Mo wasn't looking for trouble. Even knowing that Pan Sheng wasn't there, he had still asked. He was disappointed. He just had to know where the 5-element rock was. With his means, he could take it away easily. Seeing the ferocious man leave the establishment, the waiter breathed at ease. Although they had their own security guard, he didn't want the customer he was taking care of to get into a fight with the security. In his boredom, Yi Mo called Luo Ing and Ning Qingxue to tell them he was at Jin City. He would return in a while, so he then started to stroll around on the antique street. He was trying to decide whether he should find a place to stay for the night. He scanned his spirit sense and saw a large crowd huddling around a small square. It was a stone betting square. They were betting stone. Yi Mo wasn't interested in that. After all, no matter how good the jade was, it wasn't anything to him. The money he would earn wouldn't be worth it. The only use Yi Mo could give to jade was to set formations, but the effects weren't that good either. Just when he was about to leave, he saw a familiar figure in a corner. Soon, Yi Mo recognized that person. It was Su Wei. Why was she there? She looked very stressed and seemed to be crying. Had she lost a stone in a bet? Su Wei was a good person, and he owed her a favor. She had been looking after his silver heart grass for a long time, and she had stayed with Ning Qingxue for a long time. He was very grateful to her, so Yi Mo went to say hi. Hey, beautiful lady, why are you crying here by yourself? He wanted Su Wei to lighten up. Huh? Who are you? Su Wei looked at Yi Mo and quickly took a few steps back. Yi Mo subconsciously touched his face. and smiled bitterly. Everyone stared at Yemo and then at Su Wei, and they assumed he had bad intentions. But people would rather avoid trouble, so they quickly left. Yemo smiled bitterly, walked up to Su Wei, and whispered, "Su Wei, I'm Yemo. I'm wearing a mask right now. The beard is fake. There were people hunting me, so I'm hiding." "You are Yemo?" Su Wei looked at Yemo in disbelief. He could only say, "We lived together in that small house in Ninghai. Did you forget?" "Ha, you really are Yemo." Su Wei finally believed him. She could recognize his voice. Yemo nodded. "Why did you leave Ninghai?" "I didn't expect to see you here. Did something happen to you?" Su Wei suddenly started to cry again. She just wanted to go into Yemo's arms and weep. He looked awkwardly at everyone who looked at him in contempt. He could only say in a small voice, "Don't cry, otherwise people will think I'm doing something to you." "What is it? Tell me." Su Wei finally stopped crying and told him the reason. Her mother and brother were living in Jean City. Her mother had been staying at the hospital for more than a year, so she had no option but to give up her job at Ninghai and come take care of her mother. Her mother needed large amounts of money, and her brother needed money to study too. The family didn't have enough, so her father and she had to work really hard in Jean City. However, her father's taxi was involved in a car accident, and her father was blamed. They were told to pay 80,000 as compensation. 80,000 wasn't enough for her mother's sickness, but the situation just got worse then. Her brother got into a fight with someone and beat them severely, and the person asked for 100,000 as compensation. Her brother was still at the police station while they spoke. Just when she didn't know what to do, her friend from college, Xia Fongfong, found her. They were pretty close, and in that moment of helplessness, her opinion was very important to Su Wei. Xia Fongfong suggested that Su Wei could go to bet stone to the antique street. If she bought a stone with good jade inside, she could become a billionaire. Su Wei listened to this, gathered all the money she had, around 120K, and followed Xia Fongfong to this place. Under the instructions of someone who her friend had introduced, her 120K were thrown into the water. In her despair, Su Wei was crying in the toilet when she heard Xia Fongfong's conversation with someone else. The person was telling Xia Fongfong that her classmate was too poor, and the money she had was too little, that it was a waste of her time. It was then when Su Wei realized that Xia Fongfong was conspiring with someone to cheat her. Su Wei was sad. She had nothing else left. She wanted to find Xia Fongfong, but she had been looking for a few days, and she was nowhere to be seen. Her mother was running out of money at the hospital, and her brother was still counting on her for the bail money. Su Wei knew no one in Jean City and couldn't borrow from anyone either. In her sadness, she had only left to cry there. Yemo heard this and shook his head. She could even scam her friend. What else was she capable of doing? Xia Fongfong's character was undoubtedly a big load of trash. "How much money do you have left?" Yemo thought and asked. 200 left, Su Wei sniffed and said. He knew Su Wei was strong-willed and had great self-esteem, so he didn't want to lend her money. It would put a lot of pressure on her. "Su Wei, if you trust me, take your 200 and come bet stone with me." Yemo smiled. He felt it wasn't easy to make that sullen girl go back to her happy self. Su Wei was the first person he had known here. She looked at him and said, "Yemo, I only have 200. How could I bet?" Yemo smiled. 200 means that there are 200 ways of betting. "Follow me." Yemo took Su Wei into the crowd. He scanned their surroundings. The cheapest was $500, but they were all empty. Chapter 619. Betting on Garbage. Chapter 619. Betting on Garbage. Yemo took Su Wei to a middle-aged man sitting on some rocks. Looking at his gambling addict look, Yemo was speechless. No matter how rich you were, if you didn't know how to bet on these rocks, you would lose everything. Betting rocks was very exciting, but also very brutally realistic. When you bet, everyone comes to watch you, but when you lose, no one pities you, and they just leave to watch the next person. When you win, however, people envy you. In fact, perhaps those people who bet rocks enjoy those envious and shocking looks the most. Yi Emo walked over and patted the man's shoulder. "Friend, are these pebbles yours? Can you sell one to me?" The man looked at Yi Emo in confusion. "These are waste rocks that I opened up. Why do you want them? If you want one, just take it." "Thank you, but I don't like taking people's things for free." "How about this? I'll buy one for $200. Then Yi Emo signaled Su Wei to give her last 200 to this man. In the eyes of this man, $200 wasn't even something he would bother picking up from the ground. But he understood that betting rocks always needed to involve an exchange. He didn't think much of it and nodded. Then he stood up. "All right, I must try one last time. If I still lose, then I'll stop today." Yi Emo picked up a pebble which he had scanned before. There was some green jade inside, but it was small, and thus the man didn't find it. This sort of thing probably happened often. Unless you had spirit sense, you would never be able to find out. Seeing Yi Emo buy a pebble for $200, everyone shook their head. If it wasn't for the fact that that middle-aged man was so well off, people would have thought that Yi Emo was conspiring with that middle-aged man to trick Su Wei. Su Wei looked at Yi Emo's stone worriedly. "Yi Emo, is this stone useful?" "Of course. Open it." Yi Emo took the stone to the place meant for opening stones. "Who can help me open this stone?" Yi Emo said, and everyone just looked at him. No one wanted to reply. Who would want to open a useless rock? There were certain customs to the gambling, one of which said that if you open a rock and it contained jade, it made you lucky. However, Yi Emo looked ferocious and didn't seem like a good person. What if he blamed the stone being empty on you? "Brother, you don't need to open this stone. There's nothing inside for sure. I, on the other hand, found a top grade, or this time for sure. It's black on the outside. There must be something good inside. I just found it. Watch me open it later," the middle-aged man said. Yi Emo looked at the stone he was pointing at and knew it was an empty one again. He pointed at a fresh-looking rock and said, "You might as well buy that one. There's something inside there. The one you're pointing at is empty, and the other one is much cheaper too, being only 100K. The middle-aged man had helped him, so he helped him back. But as soon as Yi Emo said this, there was ridicule all around. Even Su Wei pulled Yi Emo back a bit. "Brother, are you okay? That one doesn't even have a shell. It's clearly a new rock. If it wasn't that it's so big, it wouldn't even be able to sell for 100K. Brother, you're even worse than me in looking at rocks." The middle-aged man shook his head. Yi Emo smiled and didn't say anything else. He took out the $200 pebble and asked, "Who can help me open this? I will pay you $500. "I'll do it, as long as you keep your word." A shabby-looking man walked over. No one was surprised when this man came out. Everyone there knew that he was called Huiduokai. He was someone who opened rocks, but since he had never opened a rock with jade for anyone, he was clearly very shabby. Even the boss didn't want to really use him for opening rocks. There was a rule in the business that if you open a rock and found jade, as the person who opened it, you would get a tip. Yi Emo didn't care about the man's supposed lack of luck, but in order to definitely grasp this opportunity, Huiduokai actually said, "Don't worry, my technique is top grade." Okay, open it then. "No need to ask me anything until you get all the jade out," Yi Emo said. Huiduokai took the rock from Yi Emo's hand and immediately began to work, fearing that Yi Emo would regret. Huiduokai didn't fully realize what Yi Emo's words implied, but everyone else did. This knife scar guy was pretty cruel, wasn't he? He was implying that Huiduokai had to keep opening up the rock until there was jade. But what if there was no jade? Some people wanted to remind Huiduokai, but looking at Yi Emo's ferocious look, they didn't want to get into trouble. "Yi Emo, I don't have $500. Su Wei pulled Yemo to the side. Don't worry, you don't need to. Just deduct it from the jade's earnings, Yemo said. Huiduokai knew there was going to be nothing in the rock, so he cut right from the middle and didn't even bother cutting it carefully. Yemo shook his head. The guy had said his skills were top grade, yet this one slice had already cut a bit of the jade. Huh? It's green, bright green. It's good stuff. And Huiduokai cut a bit off. It's an ice-type jade. No one remembered they had laughed at Yemo before, as they were all just looking at the jade in Huiduotsai's hand. Huiduokai knew that due to his negligence, a bit of the jade had been cut off. He began to sweat. He didn't expect there to really be jade inside. What if the man asked him for compensation? Hurry up and cut it all out. If this happens again, I'll let someone else do it. Yemo saw that Huiduokai was dazed, so he reproached him. Yes, boss, this won't happen again. Then he began to carefully take out the jade. He didn't expect Yemo to be so easygoing, though. That had been completely his fault. Luckily, he reacted fast, and his skills were actually quite good. In a short while, he had completely cut out an ice jade. It really is ice jade. It's very high purity, and the green is very dense. A jade like that would be worth almost 200K. That middle-aged man also looked at Yemo in shock. Suddenly, he felt that he should have listened to Yemo. If Yemo could find jade in his leftovers, he must be extremely capable. I'll take that jade. 200K, a woman said. This was a woman in her early 30s, and she looked not bad, mainly because she knew how to dress well. She looked very seductive, but in a high-class way. She also had a bodyguard by her side. Yemo frowned. He didn't like the smell of the woman. It was all chemical perfume. He didn't like that. He preferred the natural smell from Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue. 200K? Su Wei was stunned. She had made 200K from $200. This was too easy. Yemo didn't know the worth of this jade and thought it should only be worth that much, so he tossed it to the woman. It's yours, cash or check will do. The woman had seen Yemo frown and thought he wasn't happy with the price, but just when she wanted to say something, Yemo tossed the jade to her, as though not even caring if it would break on the ground. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.